here in North Carolina is helping us raise money for the Duke Children's Miracle Network Telethon. Let's help the children of North Carolina stay healthy.
The telethon is your chance to show you care by donating money to cure seriously ill children of North Carolina.
The money you give stays right here in North Carolina to help the children at Duke's Children's Hospital.
So come into the pantry and donate what you can to help the children. And please watch a telethon on WPTF-TV, Channel 28 on June the 4th and 5th.
Your team for sports, WRAL-TV News.
Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions presents Atlantic Coast Conference Football, the pregame show with Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett. Years ago, this rivalry produced one of the wild shootouts in ACC history. Eric Kramer and Naz Worthen hooking up with about a minute left to take North Carolina State to a 35-28 lead. But the celebration was only temporary because the Tar Heels stormed back behind Mark May. His rifle shot here to Quentin Smith in the corner of the end zone pulled the Tar Heels to within 1 point. They elected to go for the victory, not the tie, and went for two. The tight end of the bottom of your scheme trips as he tries to get out of the backfield, can't regain his feet in time to make the play, and he's ruled dead at the 8-yard line, and so are the Tar Heels, a 1-point loser to the Wolfpack. Then last season in Raleigh, North Carolina's offense couldn't score a touchdown, so their special teams did the job, scoring here their only touchdown of the game en route to a 17-14 victory over the Wolfpack. Live this afternoon from Kenan Memorial Stadium, nestled in the Pines here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the 78th renewal of this intense rivalry between North Carolina State and North Carolina.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to announce that Lieutenant Governor Bob Jordan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Slayton alongside Ben Bennett. Glad you could join us again this week for our ACC Game of the Week. And this afternoon, the key word is rivalry. This is an intense one. They've been kicking it off here, Ben, since 1894.
Well, you talk about some of the classic rivalries in college football. Texas, Oklahoma, USC, UCLA, NC State, North Carolina ranks up there as far as emotion goes. These two teams have no love lost for each other. They're right in each other's backyards, and they're playing for more than a victory today. The winner usually comes out on top in recruiting for the following year.
Right now, North Carolina State is having the better of the seasons. They're 4-1 overall, 2-1 in conference play. That underscores the importance of this game for the Wolfpack.
The Wolfpack has played two big games. They played Wake Forest, which they won, and Maryland, which they lost. So they're still not sure how good they are. North Carolina played a tremendous preseason schedule, playing Auburn, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. They're still looking for their first win. They're going to have to pull out all the stops here today.
They lead the ACC in yards per rush despite playing that brutal non-conference schedule, so Mac Brown's team is doing something right on the ground anyway.
Offensively, they've been very solid. They're anchored by a tremendous offensive line, dominated by seniors. The problem they've had so far, Kevin, is on defense. They haven't been able to stop anybody early in the game, thus they haven't been in any of the games they played in at halftime.
And they'll be starting two freshmen in the secondary this afternoon. As we do each week, we have a reporter down on the sidelines to help keep us updated as to what's going on down on the field throughout the game. And today we're going to take a pregame check-in with Bob Holliday. Bob?
Kevin, statistically, North Carolina State is the prohibitive favorite, but I can assure you Dick Sheridan is not paying any attention to statistics. College football is a game of emotion, a game of hoopla. You see behind me all those white and blue balloons. The Carolina students have gotten together. They have dubbed this Blue Blitz Day. We will see North Carolina come out in all blue, and Dick Sheridan expects to get a very emotional effort from his opponent, North Carolina, this afternoon. Kevin, back up to you.
The wide receiver spots in the ACC have really produced some eye-opening statistics this year. We have two more great ones here this afternoon, Danny Peoples and Randy Marriott. After serving a successful tenure at Oklahoma and then turning around the Tulane football program, Mac Brown has come to Chapel Hill, his first year as head coach of the Tar Heels. A lot depends on the play of senior wide receiver Randy Marriott. He's a big play type of wide receiver for Mac Brown. He can turn it on when he gets into the open field. He's ninth at North Carolina in all-time career receptions. Randy Marriott, the senior wide receiver. For North Carolina State, Dick Sheridan, 11th of all active Division 1A coaches in winning percentage. He's 4-1 this season, 2-1 in conference play. And if his team is to continue to click, they'll have to get the ball to Danny Peoples. He averages an eye-opening 32 yards per catch. And usually when he catches it, it's good for a touchdown. 8 times in just 48 career catches, Peebles has found the end zone. North Carolina State and North Carolina set to resume their rivalry. The teams are getting set to come out onto the field. Dick Sheridan in the middle of his Wolfpack on the far side. He said he wants to win this game for all of those that support the North Carolina State football program. You can see what they've done this season. They have been stellar defensively. The only loss coming to Maryland by 4 points. Here come the Wolfpack. See the Tar Heels. A beautiful setting for college football, and we'll return to Chapel Hill. The kickoff coming up in just a moment.
Exclusive live coverage of Atlantic Coast Conference football. Today's game is brought to you by the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. For insurance and financial services, better call JP. By Schlitz Malt Liquor. No one does it like the Bull. By the airline of ACC Country, Delta. We love by Amoco Ultimate Lead-Free Premium. Amoco, your car knows. And by Buick and your Buick dealers. The Great American Road belongs to Buick.
The setting could not be more beautiful here in Chapel Hill at Kenan Stadium. Nestled among the Carolina Pines, a sellout crowd for this great rivalry, North Carolina State against North Carolina. Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett, glad you're with us for this week's ACC Game of the Week. 78th time these two teams have kicked it off. And North Carolina State has won the toss. They have deferred to the second half, so North Carolina will receive. And here are AC Delco's starting lineups. Jonathan Hall, the quarterback who's had 2 shoulder operations, will lead his offensive unit. Kennard Martin will start at tailback, but you'll see plenty of Corin Dorn. And Randy Marriott, of course, we've talked about him. Up front for the Tar Heels, Jeff Garnica at center, probably one of the finest centers in the country. Pat Crowley right next to him at the right guard spot was an all-conference selection as a sophomore. So a very good up-front unit for North Carolina has helped open those holes for their running game. Carter kicking off. A short kick, takes a bounce on the far side, fielded at the 15. Blunt, he gets to about the 22, where he is snowed under by a host of white jerseys. And that is where North Carolina will put it in play, first down. Jonathan Hall, the quarterback for the Tar Heels, as I mentioned, had 2 operations on his passing shoulder. They weren't even sure that he would be able to play this year. And he goes to throw it on first down. Everybody covered. Now tries to get out of there and nearly hits Marriott anyway. But it's incomplete. Defending over there, Joe Johnson, number 21 for the Wolfpack. Our AC Delco starting defensive lineups for the Wolfpack. Elijah Austin getting the nod at nose guard today, his first start of the season. Ray Agnew very effective. Scott Auer, one of the finer linebackers in the conference. And those are their 4 linebackers. And in the secondary, the guy to watch is the strong safety, number 42, Jesse Campbell. He's just a freshman, but he is all around the football. 3 interceptions for Campbell already this year.
Tremendous contribution to the NC State defense.
And they run it with Martin. He cuts back, loses the ball, and we'll have to wait and see until they unpile as to who recovered it.
I think he fell right back on top of it.
Michael Brooks, number 32, was the first player over there, but he was able to sidestep him and then very fortunately was able to recover it. A 5-yard pickup. Mac Brown on the sidelines. There is Brooks. So it's going to be 3rd and 5 for the Tar Heels in their initial possession here this afternoon.
You know, I got to tell you, Kevin, when both teams came out for the opening kickoff, they were pumped up. This is what college football is all about. There's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm on the field right now.
Hall keeps it. Marriott was wide open, throws underneath for his tight end, incomplete, and he really took a hit when he threw it. Marriott was wide open downfield, but Hall didn't spot him. Instead, he threw to the short man as he was being pressured, so North Carolina will have to punt it away.
You can see a trend early on. Carolina looks to open it up today. They realize that they've got to score some points, and they've got to stay in the game early. North Carolina State hasn't given up a touchdown in 17 of 20 quarters they've played this year. North Carolina would like to dent that statistic pretty quickly.
Chris Quarters, you saw him deep there. He leads the ACC in punt returns, and he calls for a fair catch back near his 26-yard line. So McAllister's first punt of the day is a dandy, a 47-yarder with no return. Our AC Delco starting lineups offensively for North Carolina State. Preston Pogue will bring them out. He's number 4 in the ACC in passing efficiency. Todd Barnes will start at tailback, playing with some very painful ribs. So we'll keep an eye on him. Eugene Peters and Naz Worthen are the wide receivers. Up front for the Wolfpack, you see there are 5 up front, and then the tight end will be Bobby Harrell. North Carolina State in possession. And they have started Shane Montgomery at quarterback, and he quickly gets it to Naz Worthen. Worthen's a big play caliber player, and he gets it up near the 37. So a last-minute quarterback change by the Wolfpack produces a nice first play for them.
And what NC State is going to do is what Shane Montgomery does best. They're going to run the 2-minute offense to start the game.
The officials are going to stop them here momentarily because they want to measure to see if you picked up the first down.
I can tell you what this is going to do for NC State. It's going to put them in their best offensive mode to score points early. That's what they want to do. They want to get up on top of North Carolina. North Carolina will feel like they have the last 5 games. They've been down at half and have never been in the game.
North Carolina prepared for Preston Pogue, Ben, and now a little surprise, a wrinkle thrown in there by Dick Sheridan, starting a different quarterback with that hurry-up offense.
And in addition to that, they're going against a North Carolina defense that's very, very young and very inexperienced.
Montgomery's number 2 in the ACC in passing efficiency. Here's Cright right up the middle. He gets across the 40. So that gets them the first down.
One of the things that Mac Brown had said to us yesterday was that early in the game, his defensive players are tight. They're afraid to tackle, afraid to hit, and afraid to make mistakes. If North Carolina State comes out and executes this offense successfully early on, North Carolina could be in for a long afternoon.
Barnes is in the slot to the bottom of your screen. Plenty of time for Montgomery. There's Worthen. Makes a move on Voltage and has another first down into Carolina territory. Pickup of 13 yards on the play and another Wolfpack first down. Our AC Delco starting lineups defensively for the Tar Heels. Chris Jacobs in the middle there, starting his first game ever at nose guard. The linebackers you see there, Antonio Goss, the most active of the foursome. And their secondary is young. Jordan and Fed are both freshmen. On first down, the running play, right up the middle goes Cright inside the 40, crashing his way down to the 36-yard line before he is brought down. And down there on the hit, John Reed, number 90 for North Carolina, pickup of about 9, and very close to another first down. And in fact, the officials are going to take a look.
9 yards.
So the hurry-up offense has been stopped, Ben, only by the officials so far because they've had to measure twice.
That's it. North Carolina State I think, has made a tremendous move by coming out in this 2-minute offense. North Carolina's got a young defense, and like you said, they've prepared for Preston Pogue, who mainly runs down the line option, throws short passes, and pitches to the tailback a great deal. Shane Montgomery, on the other hand, throws the ball normally at the end of the half. They started him out here, and State is moving the football.
A little bit shy of the first down, so on second down and short, they'll run it out of the eye. Montgomery pitches it back to Williams. He's got the first down and then some. He's chased out of bounds on the far side by Terrence Fed, number 36.
First down by Terrence Fed.
A pickup of 5 and still another Wolfpack first down, and they hurry it up again.
Another advantage to running the 2-minute offense and not having a huddle is that North Carolina can't change their defense and can't substitute in new personnel.
He's going to throw it on first down. Oh, great coverage on the far side. In fact, nearly intercepted way over there. Good job that time by Antonio Goss. We talked about him as the most active of the 4 linebackers for Carolina. He has a nose for the football and always seems to find it.
Great instinctive player. He's the type of player that North Carolina needs on defense to get the younger kids fired up. Look for him to make the big play here for North Carolina and get the rest of the team excited about getting hold of somebody.
Defensively, the Tar Heels have had trouble stopping folks in the early parts of games. That's destroyed their confidence. Montgomery right down the middle to his big tight end, Harrell. He's a load to bring down, but they corral him at around the 27-yard line after he picked up only 5. Harrell, 6'4", 252 pounds of meat. He's a tough kid.
That's a load to bring down.
Out of Chesapeake, Virginia. So it'll be third and 5. Montgomery to the air. There's Worthen all alone. Inside the 20 down to the 16-yard line. Boy, incredibly, he was left unattended, and he picks up 10 and another first down.
One of the things that North Carolina's defense is doing is dropping way back to avoid giving up the big play. Subsequently, North Carolina State has been able to pick at him underneath and move the sticks.
Confusion on the corners for Carolina that time. They want a timeout, and they're going to get it called. Then how does a guy like Naz Worthen get that wide open?
Again, like I said, North Carolina is trying so hard not to give up the big play. They're getting deep drops from the linebacker position and getting deep drops in the secondary. That allows them to not give up the big play deep, but it lets the receivers get open underneath. And Naz Worthen's strong suit is that he can make things happen once he gets his hands on the football.
So the surprise, the wrinkle thrown at North Carolina by Dick Sheridan, coming out with Shane Montgomery at quarterback. Their 2-minute offense has moved it all the way downfield to the point where they have a first down inside the Carolina 20. He's done it mostly through the air. There is Dick Sheridan huddled with his quarterback, Montgomery, number 6. Worthen has been a big part of it. He's caught 2 passes already, or actually 3, because the last one he caught, good for 10 yards. He now has 31 yards in receptions, and Montgomery's hit 3 of his first 4. "78 times these two schools have met. North Carolina has owned a dominating advantage. They've won 52 of them, 8 of the last 9. The only loss we showed you at the top of the telecast when North Carolina State came in here to Kenan Stadium 2 years ago and defeated them 35-34. We'll see what defensive changes North Carolina has made. That's what North Carolina State has done so far. It's only taken them a little over 2 minutes. They run loose football. Crichton lost the handle, but I think he was able to dive in and get it back. What a break for North Carolina State.
That would have been a huge play for this North Carolina defense if they'd have been able to get a turnover and stop NC State on their initial drive.
Loss of a yard, 2nd and 11. Montgomery will throw it now. For the end zone. Oh! Timmons mugged one of the receivers, and the flag comes flying.
Well, Bernard Timmons may very well have saved a touchdown on this play. Montgomery had his wide receiver running wide open down the middle. Timmons came up and just knocks him flat. That's pass interference, and it looks like a bad play, but in reality, you'd rather make them have to earn their touchdown after giving up a penalty than give it to them on an easy one like that.
It was Todd Varn who had snuck out of the backfield and was wide open. Timmons, the sophomore out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I'll tell you what, he made sure.
If you're going to make a mistake, or if you're going to make a play like that, make sure that you knock him all the way down.
There's the signal, pass interference. Timmons says, I didn't do anything.
Well, he did save a touchdown, that's for sure, because Varn was running wide open.
They'll drop it down at the 3-yard line. 1st and goal for the Wolfpack.
Look for Crichton to carry the football down here. He's their big power back, and he's done a great job inside the 10 for them this year.
Crichton and Tyrone Jackson in their number 43 in the backfield. Crichton is the up back, number 41. First and goal, Wolfpack. Tyrone Jackson is thrown back. The North Carolina defensive unit fired up. John Reed, number 90, was the first to get him.
When you get down this close, it's not a matter of finesse, it's a matter of power. Which team wants it the most is the team that usually wins down here. North Carolina is trying to garner some of the enthusiasm from the fans to help pump up their defense. They're down there at the corner of the stadium where it's pro North Carolina, and they're really making some noise, and it's tough for Montgomery to call his audibles at the line. The toss is to Bart. He's going to throw it. He throws it into the end zone. Great coverage on Todd Harrison. So the Tar Heel defensive unit really fired up down there. They want the crowd to take part. Bultich was the guy, number 7, who was back there covering. I got to tell you, although this didn't work, I love this call. This is a great call down close. North Carolina State is trying to take advantage of the enthusiastic North Carolina defense. If they had reacted extremely quickly to the pitch, that would have worked, but you got to like the call, even though it didn't go. 3rd and goal. Barn and Crichton in the backfield. Montgomery runs it for Barn. Touchdown. Todd Barn on the receiving end of that TD pass. That's his first touchdown reception of the year. I know Dick Sheridan is extremely happy to have Todd Barn back in his offense. For Shane Montgomery, his second touchdown pass of the season. Hartman comes on for the point after. He's 11 of 11. Now he's 12 of 12, and the Wolfpack jump out to the early lead, 7-0. So typically for North Carolina, the game starts off from a deficit, and that's a difficult thing to dig themselves out of. One of the problems that North Carolina has is coverage in the secondary. Barn out of the backfield runs off the picks of the wide receivers, and even though the pass was a little bit behind him, he was so wide open that he was able to come back, make the catch, put NC State up 7-0. We're in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We'll return for more ACC football coming up after this. Back live, Kenan Stadium, Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett. Gorgeous afternoon for ACC football. North Carolina State has jumped out in front 7-0. They took the opening kickoff and drove down for the score. Ryan Carter getting set to kick off now again to North Carolina. And Eric Blunt and Randy Marriott dropping deep. Marriott to the bottom of your screen and Blunt to the top. North Carolina's problems in the first quarter have been that they've been outscored by everybody they've played. By the time they settle down and start playing good football, they're already out of the game. NC State and Dick Sheridan have said to themselves, hey, let's put them down early. Maybe it'll have a great psychological advantage for our team. When you score on your opening possession, it is certainly a positive. The upback takes it at about the 18-yard line and gets only to about the 19. So North Carolina, Reggie Clark couldn't get it back to the 20-yard line. After the North Carolina punt, it took them 3.5 minutes to move 73 yards. The score coming on the touchdown pass, Montgomery to Barn. Torin Dorn in their tailback now, number 44 for North Carolina, along with Michael Benefield, number 34 at fullback. Here is Dorn, big hole on the right side. And he's wrapped up as he gets to about the 23 or 24-yard line. Ray Agnew, number 93, the junior out of Winston-Salem, there to stop Dorn. We'll see what he's done this year. He's the faster of the two North Carolina tailbacks. And both of the North Carolina tailbacks are good ones in the North Carolina tailback tradition. Pickup of 4. It'll be 2nd and 6. Marriott goes wide to the top of the screen. Blunt in the slot up there. Here goes Dorn trying the left side. He runs into a stone wall this time. Elijah Austin, number 92, met him head on and drove him back. Well, unfortunately, North Carolina would like very much to run the football well today. They're going against a team that ranks 2nd nationally in run defense. North Carolina has a very, very veteran and very talented offensive line, but they're going against a team that is also very talented. We saw Jeff Garnica working against Elijah Austin. There's Garnica, one of the finest centers in the country, according to his coach, Mack Brown. On 3rd and 4, Torin Dorn sneaks through a hole, has the first down, gets to the 36. Before he's wrapped up in the secondary, Michael Brooks, number 32, came up to help out on the stop. So a good job for Torin Dorn to pick up that first down. Well, you look at the call on 3rd down, and you say to yourself, he has a lot of faith, Mack Brown does, in his offensive line and the ability that his tailbacks possess. 10 yards on the pickup that time for Dorn.
First down of the game for North Carolina. Steady diet of Dorn. Left side, big hole. Cuts at the 45. Gets to about the 47. Again, it was Michael Brooks that wrapped him up around the ankles. A pickup this time of 11. Boy, they're opening some holes, Ben, on the initial contact, aren't they?
As important as this is to the North Carolina offense to play well and get down and score some points early, it's a tremendous boost for their defense also. As their offensive line begins to dominate North Carolina State's defensive line, open holes move the football. One, it gets them in an opportunity to score, and two, it keeps their defense off the field.
There goes the tailback, Martin, this time across the 50 in the North Carolina State territory, and they're running the football here against a team that is ranked second in the country against the rush, and that's North Carolina State. They give up just 67 yards a game, and that translates into under 2 yards per carry. So Mack Brown's running game, something that Dick Sheridan told me yesterday he greatly feared, is starting to click here.
Well, North Carolina throughout the years has had a tradition of having great offensive linemen and great tailbacks. When you have those two, you tend to run the football very well.
Benefield's a fullback. Again, it was Elijah Austin, number 92, that hit him first. And he got some help that time from Scott Auer, number 95. Perhaps a yard on the pickup will make it third down and about 5.
Last time in this situation, you saw Mack Brown give to Dorn off tackle, and they picked up the first down.
Dick Sheridan a little bit concerned on the far side, but his team is out in front, 7-0. Hall flips it outside. Thompson is near first down yardage, now fumbles the ball, and it's still alive. It'll belong to North Carolina, and it turns out to be a plus. They'll get it down at the state 29. 18 yards on the pickup when you include the fumble roll.
Great call by Mack Brown. This is as good as a sweep. It's a short, sure completion pass. North Carolina does a great job of getting on the football after it pops loose here. Even if they didn't hang on to it, they knocked it OB, which keeps it in their possession.
Jesse Campbell was the man who forced the fumble. First down for the Tar Heels. Here they go, Kenan Martin. Nice move at the point of contact, but then he's dropped. Good run support that time from Fred Stone, number 58, the inside linebacker.
Well, I can tell you, anybody that's watched this NC State team this year is not surprised to hear you say Jesse Campbell caused the fumble. He's only a freshman, but he's a big, raw-boned, talented kid, and he will hit you and make the big play for NC State.
6:40 remaining in the first quarter. Nice sustained drive from the Tar Heels, answering the one put on them by North Carolina State. Ball pulls up and fires complete to Marriott. He takes the hit as he's knocked out of bounds near first down yardage. Randy was saying before the game, asked if we could pass along a wish for his father to recover in a hurry. He's in Wake Hospital, and he's watching the game this afternoon, so we wish him very well as his son hauls in his first catch of the day.
Well, he's got to be happy with what he sees here from Randy. Jonathan Hall comes out, fakes the option, and stands up and hits Marriott. North Carolina is going to have to incorporate Randy Marriott into their offensive game plan if they want to be really successful today.
It's enough for the first down. Torrin Dorn back in. He carries over the left side. Another big hole over there. Jesse Campbell, number 42, had to come up and get him, a pickup of 7 or 8 more. And the left side of that North Carolina line, we pointed him out to you at the top of the show. Pat Crowley, the left guard, all conference, was a sophomore last year. Jeff Garnica, the senior center. Dick Sheridan is watching his highly touted defensive team against the run being pushed around here at Kenan Stadium.
In an emotional rivalry like this, you can almost throw out the one-loss record. Emotion plays such a big part in the game of football. North Carolina seems to have gotten it working for them early.
Michael Brooks comes up to put his shoulder into Torrin Dorn, but he's inside the 5, and it is another North Carolina first down. They now have first and goal. Very impressive running game from the Tar Heels. Remember, against competition the likes of South Carolina, Oklahoma, and Auburn, North Carolina comes into this game leading the ACC in rushing yardage per attempt. So that shows you they were doing something right with that running game. Kenan Martin in there now replacing Dorn.
Tremendous amount of credit goes to that offensive line.
Benefield spins his way to about 2. He really got nailed by Corey Edmond, number 47, when he spun out of that tackle.
Again, the offensive line landing good blocks here, sustaining their blocks. North Carolina's backs are very, very well coached to get up into the line, get positive yardage, and keep both hands on the football in traffic.
2nd and goal from the 2. Martin trying to get closer to the goal line, gets down near the 1. Elijah Austin, number 92. Fernandez Vincent, number 2, all in there on the tackle. It'll make it 3rd and goal.
Only partway into the 4th quarter. This is already a critical down for both teams.
Third and goal. They're 2, 3, and 3rd down conversions. This is a big one to convert. Hall's in trouble. Vincent has him. North Carolina State blitzed from the corner spot. And a very big defensive play for the Wolfpack. Drops him back at the 14, a loss of 13 yards. They'll spot it now at the 11.
This is a huge defensive play. It's a great call. Jonathan Hall has his tight end running wide open. Unfortunately for North Carolina, NC State had a weak corner blitz on. Jonathan Hall never saw him, never had a chance to get in there and hit his receiver. Subsequently, they lose big yards and takes them out of a shot for a touchdown.
Hamp Green will come on from the 17. It'll be a 27-yard attempt. He hasn't missed from this distance yet. But he did now. Boy, as momentum breakers go, that is a big one. North Carolina State holds, and then they missed the field goal. 7-0 the Wolfpack, 3:39 remaining in the 1st quarter. We'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC stations. We'll be back with more. 7-0, North Carolina State leading. Hit big. 3 degrees at kickoff. Beautiful day here in Chapel Hill. Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett, glad you could join us. A sellout crowd for the 78th renewal of the North Carolina State rivalry. 7-0 right now. The Wolfpack lead with 3:39 left in the 1st quarter. You see some portions of the crowd evenly divided, but by and large, there is more blue than there is red.
You know, Kevin, even though it was only a 3-point swing for North Carolina, it may very well have been a tremendous emotional swing for NC State.
They're going deep on 1st down, and Peebles was down there being covered by Skeet Baldwin, the junior quarterback from Chapel Hill, and Montgomery showed you his arm strength there as he tried to get a deep 6 in a hurry. Throwing on that young secondary, but Baldwin, one of the veterans back there, just a junior, was able to stay with Peebles.
Peebles has an amazing ability to run by anybody that plays defense against him.
Montgomery on 2nd and 10. He lost it to the corner and completes it to Peters. And he has a 1st down, a pickup of 14.
You know, Kevin, I've talked to some of the coaches that have played against Shane Montgomery. They say in pregame warm-ups and in practice, he's not impressive, but he's a game player. You put him into a game, and he's going to complete a large percentage of his passes for a lot of yards.
North Carolina State opened up with Montgomery at quarterback in their 2-minute offense, throwing a surprise at North Carolina, and they stayed with it. He tosses back to Williams. He's fortunate he didn't fumble that ball. Just as he got the pitch, he ran into Antonio Goss, number 45, and he nearly had himself a recovery. Good job by Williams just to hold that ball.
Shane Montgomery throws the ball well, but you can see he's kind of hesitant on the option. Antonio Goss, as I said earlier, is going to be the player that makes the big play for North Carolina's defense.
2nd and 9. He'll throw. Confusion, but he completes it to his tight end, Bobby Harrell. 2 receivers were standing next to each other. It almost looked like Harrell pushed the other one away and grabbed it.
Had to be a broken pattern, but it'll go down in the books as a 7-yard completion.
3rd down play for North Carolina State. 3rd and a long 2, maybe 3. They'll try to throw for it. Harrell's wide open. The tight end, nobody saw him. He's got it at midfield out of the 45 of North Carolina before he was brought down on the far side. Over there first was Terrence Fedd, number 36, a 14-yard pickup. And the big tight end is having a full day's work.
Shane Montgomery, again, looking downfield. North Carolina, forced to respect the speed of Peebles and Worthen, allows the other complementary receivers to run open underneath and pick up first down yardage like they did right there.
First down just inside of Carolina's 45. They run the draw play to Crite. He breaks one tackle and gets down near the 40 before he's finally pulled down. Dwight Hollier, number 53, was the guy who knocked him down, a 4-yard pickup. Dick Sheridan's move so far, his choice of quarterbacks, has been a brilliant one.
Well, that shouldn't be surprising with the winning percentage that he possesses. 11th on the all-time active college coach's winning percentage.
Montgomery fires it for Peebles, cutting across the middle. Inside the 25 before he's dropped, but another North Carolina State first down. Terrence Fedd, number 36, was there to get him, but these guys were just too quick for the Carolina secondary. A 17-yard pickup that time.
They're catching the ball underneath the linebacker coverage and turning upfield. Naz Worthen and Danny Peebles are capable of going the distance on any time they get the ball.
Boy, that time they were going nowhere. I mean, a great defensive job by Willie Joe Walker as he got in the backfield in a hurry. Steve Salley didn't have a chance.
We had spoken earlier about how good a center Jeff Garnico was. NC State has the All-ACC center from last year, and he's also one of the finest centers in the country in Chuck Massaro.
Loss of 4, Montgomery to the air, going inside the 10, nearly intercepted. Good defensive coverage this time from Skeet Baldwin again, number 26.
Same play that NC State ran down towards the goal line that Timmons knocked down Todd Barnes. That time they covered the play much better than they did earlier.
That'll bring up 3rd and 15 now. They've converted all of their third down situations, 3 of 3 thus far. The blitz coming, Montgomery gets rid of it for Worthen. Good coverage back there from Doxy Jordan. He's a freshman and he was with Worthen. The pressure up front is what helped North Carolina's defensive unit come away unscathed that time.
North Carolina takes a big chance here. They blitz their linebackers and put their DBs in one-on-one coverage. Fortunately for North Carolina, the pressure on Montgomery made him deliver early. The pass is incomplete. NC State in a field goal situation now.
Damon Hartman on to attempt what will be a 45-yarder. He's 1 of 1 from this distance. That's his longest. 45 yards. He hasn't made one any further out than this. 59 seconds left in the quarter. He'll try to make it 10-0. It's on its way. And he nails it. So Hartman converts what they will officially call a 44-yard field goal. And North Carolina State takes a 10-0 lead with less than a minute remaining here in the first quarter. We'll return to Kenan Stadium for more ACC football. 10-0, the Wolfpack over the Tar Heels. North Carolina State has scored on each of its first 2 possessions. Now let's go down to Bob Holliday on the sideline.
Kevin, you see a sea of red behind me, and those folks are pretty excited about the way this football game has begun. Shane Montgomery has been primarily used as the relief man this year. He runs the 2-minute offense. Interestingly, most of the drives that he has quarterbacked have resulted in scores. The state people like to use Preston Pogue. He's more effective at running the option, which is the bread and butter of the NC State offense, but today they've come out throwing and gotten the early lead. Now, North Carolina is trying to reverse a trend. The Tar Heels have fallen behind in every game, and that's why it's important for them to score soon. Back up to you, Kevin.
All right, Bob, and the last time they had the ball, they drove to the North Carolina State 1, and the Wolfpack defensive unit, which has not allowed a touchdown in 17 of 20 quarters and 8 in a row, did not allow on that time either. You can see Bob mentioned that they fall behind early, the Tar Heels do, and it results in losses when that happens. They've fallen behind here quickly, 10-0. But the North Carolina State defensive unit, ranked 2nd in the country against rushing, was beaten on the last series by North Carolina. They just came away empty and didn't score any points. The big play, the sack on 3rd and goal from the 1, when Hall dropped back to pass and was sacked for a 10-yard loss. Carter ready to kick it off. Marriott and blunder deep.
That play may loom as the largest play in this game as we go along.
Randy Marriott at his own 10. Hit it to 20 and then dropped. The first guy down there to hit him was Doobie Pickett. And then he got some help. Eddie Cashion also down there, number 36. 12-yard return. Mack Brown, the first-year head coach here in North Carolina, he would like to have a team that reminds you of Oklahoma, Ben, in terms of speed, but there aren't many Oklahomas out there.
Well, a lot of coaches would like to have that, but everybody associated with North Carolina football feels that Mack Brown is a tremendous asset to the program and that he's going to do big, big things here.
Bernard Martin can't get started. Doesn't get too far. Scott Auer, number 95, was the first guy to wrap his arms around him. He got across the 20. Maybe back to the original line of scrimmage. They'll put it up at about the 24 now. They threw him back. Benefield, number 34, comes into the lineup at fullback. He replaces James Thompson. 52,000 on hand. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett. This will probably be the last play of the first quarter. 12 seconds left. Jonathan Hall to the air. He's got a man wide open trying to hit Houston, the tight end, but he overthrew him a little bit. It went off his hands, a catchable ball. And Houston is hurt. He was really shaken up on the hit.
He took a hit from Michael Brooks that would put most people out of forever. Jonathan Hall letting the ball go in a good place, just let it go too high. You can see Houston, whoo, look at the shot from Brooks.
Jesse Campbell hit him from behind, and then he got sandwiched.
We've talked all day about how North Carolina's offensive line is one of their strongest assets. They're keeping a very, very tough North Carolina State defensive line off of Jonathan Hall.
3rd and 8 for North Carolina. Keller, number 10, comes in at tight end to replace Houston, who went off the field under his own foul. All in trouble, down he goes. The sack goes to Mike Jones, his 3rd of the year. The big guy, number 99, out of Columbia, South Carolina.
I think there's a very good possibility that NC State's defensive line heard what I had to say about North Carolina and decided to make me look bad. They get in and get around Jonathan Hall quickly, and when a quarterback is on his back or has people in his face, you're not going to be very effective.
So the first quarter has come to an end here in Chapel Hill. North Carolina State, very impressive offensively, has jumped out to a 10-0 lead. We'll be back with more ACC football for you after this. Scott McAllister, the North Carolina punter, getting ready to knock it away. 10-0 North Carolina State leads as we open play in the second quarter. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett. Bob Holliday down on the sidelines for us today. Full house here at Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill.
So does NC State go for the block here and try and get the knockout blow early?
They'll get the ball in a good field position. A good punt from McAllister. Naz Worthen is back there at his own 40. And he brings it back to the 46-yard line, so excellent field position for the Wolfpack to operate in. A 43-yard punt that time for McAllister and a 6-yard return. Perfect day for football here in Chapel Hill. Everything's blue, including the sky. Kenan Stadium, a sellout crowd on a beautiful football Saturday here in ACC country. 10-0, North Carolina State leading. Their 2-minute offense has been out there since the start of the game, going without a huddle. Shane Montgomery, quarterback. Chris Williams tries this side, but he's wrapped up in a hurry, and he's not going anywhere. John Reed, who's been all over the ball, number 90 for North Carolina, ran him down. This is a big series defensively for North Carolina. They need to make something happen.
And they need to make something happen in their favor.
They need two that time.
They need a turnover here, or at least a quick stop to the drive.
Montgomery had to get rid of that ball before Quarters could turn around. He was under heavy pressure.
Shane Montgomery patting himself on the chest saying, "That's me. I took too short a drop." Timing on the out patterns is crucial. Shane Montgomery, instead of taking the normal 5-step drop, which coincides with the 12-yard out pattern, took a 3-step drop and let the ball go before the receiver could turn around and get his hands on it.
3rd and 12 now for North Carolina State. He'll go to the air. Down the middle for Worthen. He sidesteps one and is inside the 35-yard line. Larry Whitesides was back there trying to keep up with him, but Worthen's just too quick. Big first down play.
One of the things that NC State wants to take advantage of is the inexperience of the North Carolina linebackers. In a zone coverage, they're supposed to drop to a designated area and not pick anybody up. That time, Timmons got out of position, and Worthen ran right in behind him.
23 yards. Here's Williams on the sideline. He steps out at about the 25-yard line. Now the question is, Ben, what do you do? How do you stop this offense? It's a 2-minute job without a huddle, and North Carolina has not changed enough to stop it.
You got to take chances on defense. The thing that's been successful for North Carolina so far has been the blitz. They've got to try to incorporate that into their defense on occasion.
2nd and 2 after an 8-yard pickup. Montgomery has been blisteringly hot. They'll pitch it back. Williams fumbles the ball. North Carolina has it. Skeet Baldwin, the junior from Chapel Hill, was the man who fell on it. But once again on that option, Shane Montgomery and Williams nearly fumbled it earlier. This time they do.
Well, we mentioned earlier that Shane Montgomery runs the 2-minute offense well, but doesn't run the option, which is NC State's bread and butter, as well as Preston Post. He throws the ball, he pitches the ball high. Williams never gets a hand on it, and there's the big turnover that we talked about for North Carolina.
Tar Heels will have it when we come back. They trail 10-0, 13:50 left in the first half. We'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC stations.
The big turnover that North Carolina needed comes here on poor execution of NC State's bread and butter, the option. You can see Montgomery pitches the ball and never even looks back to see where Williams is. This is a huge emotional swing for North Carolina's defense. Now their offense has to take it one step further and put the ball in the end zone.
Something that hasn't happened against North Carolina State for 9 consecutive quarters now. Jonathan Hall on first down for Blunt. If Campbell was there, you got to throw it over Campbell. He smells the ball. He returned one for a touchdown after he intercepted it against Georgia Tech. I haven't seen many freshmen with the confidence and the maturity and the poise and the know-how of this kid, Jesse Campbell.
They're not afraid to let him go and let him try to do things that he thinks he can get away with. The interception return you're talking about, he ran 64 yards with it, and it was never even close.
Torin Dorn, big hole left side, across the 30. Down as he gets to the 34-yard line.
Tackled by Grady Harris.
North Carolina specializes in having great lines and great tailbacks. Good execution will allow you to get positive yards and put yourself in a position to pick up first down yardage.
Pickup of 8 that time, 2nd down and 2. Dorn has been very effective out of the North Carolina backfield, and he'll try it again. Right side, runs through a tackle and holds on for the first down. Good strength from that tailback Dorn. Elijah Austin hit him, held on. But Dorn, who's just 6'1" and 198, was able to carry the 257-pound Austin for the first down.
And anytime you outpower Elijah Austin, you're doing a tremendous job. I had spoken to the NC State weight coaches. Elijah Austin bench presses 575 pounds.
Great fake. He's going deep for Blunt. Underthrows it, and that allows Fernandez Vincent to come back and make the play. Jonathan Hall made a brilliant fake. Probably could have run the ball over the near side, but he had his man open. He simply underthrew him. And that may be an indication, Ben, that his arm strength just isn't there yet.
Well, in addition to the fact that he's had 2 operations on his shoulder, this is a difficult throw to roll to your left, turn all the way back around, and throw the ball downfield. He had his receiver open. He just needs to get the ball up in the air a little bit sooner and throw it just a little bit farther.
2nd and 10 now for the Tar Heels, just shy of their own 40. Here comes Dorn. Really got drilled by Fred Stone, number 58, the senior from Richland, New Jersey.
This is a heck of a pop by Fred Stone. Torin Dorn runs the ball on the counter tray here, gets up in the line, and says, "Hello, Mr. Stone. It's not so good to see you this afternoon."
4-yard pickup. It'll be 3rd down. Jonathan Hall into the air, flips it outside. He's got his man Thompson up to the 50, has the first down. A good execution of that play now, twice for North Carolina. It's picked up good yardage.
I tell you, I'm really, really impressed with the play calling of Mack Brown so far. What he's doing is he's taking his chances big, but not doing it all the time, and coming back, running the ball successfully, and completing sure passes for first downs, like this pass right here.
Got a great block out in front by Creighton Incorminius. Thompson comes off now. And he's replaced in the backfield by Michael Benefield, number 34.
Nicknamed Inco by his buddy.
First down, they're in state territory. Jonathan Hall again rolling out. This time he'll keep it. And he picks up a couple before he's wrestled down. Scott Auer was there first, number 95. And then Corey Edmond, number 47, came in over the top.
One of the great things that Jonathan Hall can do for you is once he gets out of the pocket, he can make things happen. Sees downfield that both of his receivers are covered, and rather than force the ball into coverage, he puts it down, tucks his head, and gets down and tries to get as much yardage as he can.
2nd and 8. The draw to Dorn. Cuts it outside. Great job of keeping his balance. And Michael Brooks and Fernandez Vinson combined to stop him, but Dorn was hitting the backfield and was able to use his hand to maintain his balance.
Well, I tell you what, Dorn on these plays reminds me of another great Carolina tailback that wore number 44, Kelvin Bryant. Dorn has tremendous balance and tremendous acceleration. He's done a great job so far today.
He's had a brilliant first half as North Carolina's on the move again. And they run Kennard Martin, who gives Dorn a breather. Look at Martin knifing through the hole. Gets inside the 30. Vinson gets a hold of him. But Kennard Martin is close to another North Carolina first down. And that gets the crowd alive.
Well, I can tell you the crowd is going to play a big, big part in the game today. North Carolina has faced a lot of adversity so far this year, and their kids are a little apprehensive about what they're doing. Now that they're at home, they feel like they got the home crowd behind them. They want to do big things.
They've been a consistent moving force on this drive, as you saw there. Inside to Benefield, straight up the middle, has about 5 yards. On first down, down to the 22-yard line.
One of the keys to the Tar Heel offense so far is that they haven't put themselves in 3rd and long situations. No team ever wants to put their quarterback in a situation like that. North Carolina hasn't done it to Hall yet, and subsequently they've moved the sticks and picked up first down.
62 yards for Dorn, 29 for Martin. That tailback position is producing. Here he goes again, loose football. Oh, Jonathan Hall, how fortunate he was, because Michael Brooks, number 32, was there to pick it up, but it bounced away from him.
You talk about a game of inches. North Carolina State comes with a full-out blitz. Had Jonathan Hall been able to pitch the ball to Kennard Martin, he'd have been running one-on-one with the cornerback with nothing but the cornerback between he and the end zone.
Great recovery that time by Hall. He dove out there and knocked it down and then smothered it. Dorn back into the backfield now. We've talked about how effective that defense is against the rush. Hall in trouble, flips it outside and hits Thompson again. He spins and gets the first down with extra effort. Jesse Campbell brought him down, but give Thompson, the senior from Lumberton, North Carolina, all the credit.
You also have to give Jonathan Hall a great deal of credit here. What a gutsy play. He comes out after the fake. He knows he's going to take a hit. He stands in and delivers it. North Carolina is on the move here. It's important that they score a touchdown here.
And the noisy end of the stadium as we watch it. The student section all on their feet now. North Carolina was down here earlier and came away empty. Here comes the blitz. Dorn is going nowhere. Well, they were shooting the gaps that time. First guy through there was Lee Knight, number 38, a freshman out of Huntsville, Alabama.
Well, usually when a team will blitz, it's a win or lose situation. There's no happy medium. North Carolina State wins on the blitz this time. They stopped North Carolina for a loss. But normally when a team blitzes, it's a big play one way or another. Either the offense will score a touchdown or pick up big yards, or the defense will stop you for a loss. That time NC State came out on top.
Loss of 3. And North Carolina wants a timeout. This is a very important possession for them. They've gotten as far as the 1-yard line the last time and did not score. There was a sack on a 3rd down goal play from the 1, and then they missed the field goal. So they need to come away with some points here as they trail 10-0. to North Carolina State. 8:13 remaining in the first half, and we'll return to Kenan Stadium for more of this great rivalry. ACC football coming your way. That's our score, 10-0. The Wolfpack leading Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett. 8:13 left in the half. Now let's go down to the sidelines and Bob Holliday. Bob?
Well, North Carolina's playing football today. Only one team has moved the ball like this on the NC State Wolfpack, and that was Maryland. State gave up only field goals in its first 2 games and only field goals in its most 2 recent games. North Carolina does not have any points yet. This is a key play coming up for the Tar Heels. They need points. They're obviously not going to win games with their defense. They're giving up 37 points a game. Kevin, back to you.
All right, Bob. 2nd down and 14 after that 4-yard loss on first down. Hall has time. Throws complete to Marriott. Then he reverses his field, and he'll end up losing yardage from where he caught it. Jesse Campbell does not let you get away.
Jonathan Hall making a good decision. Looking downfield, had a receiver run into the back corner of the end zone. He was covered. Hall comes back, makes a safe throw to Marriott. Marriott tried to turn away from what he felt was the coverage. Unfortunately, he turned right back into Jesse Campbell.
Just shy of the 16. They're almost back to the original line of scrimmage, so it's going to be 3rd and 11. Here comes the blitz. Hall flips it out too late, incomplete. Intended for Eric Blunt, and Fernandez Vincent was there. So North Carolina's field goal unit will have to come out and try to dent the scoreboard. They missed from 45 yards earlier, from 27 yards earlier, and now they'll try it again. Camp Green, who missed the earlier one, is not going to kick this time. He's been replaced by Clint Kowaltney. There's Clint. So Hamp Green, who missed a gimme earlier, has been lifted in favor of Kowaltney, and this will come from just shy of the 19, or the 24. It'll be a 34-yard field goal. And he knocks it right through there. North Carolina's on the scoreboard. 10-3, North Carolina State leads by 7. With 7:22 remaining in the half. We'll come back to Kenan Stadium for more ACC football after you see this. A gorgeous afternoon among the pines in Chapel Hill. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett. North Carolina gets on the scoreboard, and here's the blitz that helps set it up. Help keep them out of the end zone.
Well, offensive coordinators going against defensive coordinators are almost like a great chess match. It's a very tactical situation. If you make the right call, you look like a hero. If you don't make the right call, you're the GOAT. North Carolina State on 2 separate big plays on 3rd down has blitzed and has made North Carolina make a bad play. Subsequently, North Carolina only has 3 points rather than 14.
With a 33-yard field goal by Clint Kowaltney resulting from that drive that was stymied by the blitz. But North Carolina, the positive side, they're on the scoreboard. Jonathan Hall talking to his coaches upstairs. That running game has really worked for them. He's getting a little bandaged up. That blitz caught him on the chin.
Well, he's taken quite a few shots this game. But I got to tell you about Jonathan Hall. Anybody that can come back and compete at the quarterback position after having shoulder surgery, not once, but twice, that's the ultimate competitor in my mind.
In the spring, Mac Brown said yesterday they didn't even think he could throw again. He was talking about playing defensive back.
Just so he could contribute to the team.
Cannon Watson set to kick it off. There is Chris Williams. He leads the ACC in kickoff returns. He's going to get it. No, he's not going to get a chance. Porters takes it at the 2. Porter's looking for an opening. It's flipped head over heels as he crosses the 15. Well, that'll get the crowd fired up as if they needed it. They've been fired up since they woke up this morning. There you see the man who laid the hit on him, Steve Lowe, number 54, and there's an injured Carolina player down on the field.
16-yard return by Porter.
Number 8, Jim Jouch, defensive back from Vienna, Virginia.
Now, I got to tell you, it's not Jim Jouch, it's Jim Yock. Jim's father, Ray Yock, is the competition coordinator for the league that I played in this summer, in the Arena Football League. That's his son.
Our Schlitz Malt Liquor Student Athlete of the Week is Charlie Cobb. Charlie, a business major at North Carolina State, 3.3 grade point average. He does a fine job not only in the classroom but on the football field. Charlie Cobb, our Schlitz Malt Liquor Student Athlete of the Week.
You know, Kevin, that's one of the things that during college football game tends to get overlooked. The academics. These are student athletes. Both of these schools have made a tremendous commitment to their academics for their athletes. And if we get a chance later on, I'll tell you a little bit about North Carolina's commitment and the facilities that they've made available to their student athletes.
Sellout crowd here at Kenan Stadium. 10-3, North Carolina State in the lead over North Carolina. And the Wolfpack operating from their own 17-yard line. They've gone all the way with Montgomery at quarterback. Tyrone Jackson, number 43, in the backfield at the tailback spot now. Montgomery, a quick screen outside the Worthen. Boy, he's quick. Close to the 30 before he is stopped over there by Doxy Jordan, number 4.
NC State wants very badly to get the ball in the hands of Quarters, Peebles, and Worthen because they do such great things with it once they get their hands on the ball.
Steve Sally in there at fullback, number 29 for North Carolina State. Montgomery under pressure from behind, gets rid of it to Quarters. Voltage misses him, and Quarters gets up to about the 38. That ball took a while getting there, but it did it nonetheless. A 9-yard pickup and a first down for North Carolina State.
And as long as that ball was in the air, Vuletic thought he had a shot to knock it down. Vuletic comes up, tries to knock the ball out of his hand, and subsequently misses the tackle and allows him to move ahead and get close to first down yardage.
Here they go again out of the no-huddle offense. Montgomery calling his signals. Just one back. They've gone out of that one-back set virtually all afternoon except in short yardage situations. Now they move into the I. Tyrone Jackson moves back in there. Here's Sally straight up the middle. He crosses the 40 to about the 42. He just simply followed Chuck Massaro as center number 55. We've got two of the finer centers in the country. Coach Sheridan, looking on, knows that his kid Massaro is very effective, and he told me yesterday he thought Garnica may be the best in the country.
Well, actually, this conference is proud to boast that they have 3 of the best centers in the country, period. Garnica, Massaro, and Bubba Metz over at Duke University.
Montgomery to the air, looks for Sally, and he was covered nicely by John Reed, number 90. So Sally, who hasn't had much playing time this year, getting a little dose of it here in the first half. Into the game now for North Carolina State. Shad Santee, number 1, at the flanker spot, and he will go wide to the top of the screen along with Worthen. And in fact, he replaces Worthen, and Worthen thought he was in there and had to hustle off. Williams, big hole left side. He's into the clear. Williams into Carolina territory, dropped at the 35-yard line. A neck-high tackle by Skeet Baldwin, a pickup of 24 yards for Williams.
One of the things that happens to a defense's mindset is when they see a certain quarterback, they're expecting certain things out of him. They come back and cross up North Carolina by running the counter out of the backfield for big yards to Williams.
Montgomery drills it for Santee at the 20. He's wrapped up right there. Baldwin makes the tackle, but it's another North Carolina State first down. So Santee, the freshman out of Marietta, Georgia, makes his first drive of the game. Everybody contributing to the North Carolina State offensive effort here today.
Again, North Carolina State trying to take advantage of the lack of speed in the North Carolina secondary.
Montgomery enjoying an excellent first half. He's 14 of 20, and he goes back again into the end zone for Bourne, and he just can't catch up with it. Pretty good coverage from Dwight Hollier, the linebacker.
This is a great defensive play. North Carolina comes out in an all-out blitz, leaving everybody in man-to-man coverage. Varn has a step on Hollier, but Hollier is a good enough athlete and plays the ball well enough to get back and get a hand on it and save a sure touchdown.
Tar Heels gambling on the blitz now, force State into a 2nd and 10. Todd Varn, his first carry of the day, gets just a couple. Stopped as he got near the line of scrimmage by Cecil Gray, number 97.
North Carolina's defensive line is doing a good job of playing off the NC State blocks and getting penetration into the backfield. That's the thing you have to do if you're a defensive player and you want to stop a good running attack.
From the 20, 3rd and 9.
They're going to blitz. No, we're backing out of the blitz.
Here they come. He's thrown into the end zone for Quarters. Well, great leaping catch for the touchdown. Chris Quarters, 20 yards for the score. He beat Bultich in the corner of the end zone. What a tremendous catch this is. The ball is actually underthrown. Bultich had great coverage. He was right stride for stride with Quarters. The ball was thrown just a little bit behind. Quarters adjusted to the ball. Bultich didn't. 6 points for NC State. For Quarters, his first touchdown catch of the season. And they'll try for the conversion. David Hartman trying to make it 17-3 with 4:46 left in the half. That is right down central. 17-3. North Carolina State has taken the lead here over North Carolina, so they answer the Tar Heel field goal with a touchdown of their own. I got to tell you, it's frustrating enough for North Carolina to give up a touchdown, but to give up a touchdown when Bultich had this great a coverage, it's got to really take some of the wind out of their sails. Bultich was stride for stride with Quarters. Quarters just simply made a tremendous athletic play, came up with the ball, and that's a huge break for NC State. So the blitz burns Carolina and will return with 4:46 left in the half. ACC college football. Back live, all the color and pageantry of college football here at the ACC. North Carolina State leading the Tar Heels of North Carolina 17-3. Kevin Slayton, Ben Bennett, Bob Holliday down on the sidelines with us today. North Carolina State just scoring. Let's go down to Bob Holliday.
Kevin, most football fans know about the renovations to Kenan Stadium this year. New seats were added, new press box was built. I believe you're enjoying your view from the press box now. Behind us, we see the field house. It also is newly renovated. About 2 years ago, the university sank more than $1 million into renovating it. Beautiful blue carpet, nice weight room. They feel like this field house will be an asset in recruiting as it has been thus far. North Carolina on the short end of a 17-3 score. The Tar Heels, of course, would like to get points before halftime. Kevin?
All right, Bob, thank you very much. And we are enjoying our view from up here in the spanking new press box, first year of its operation. And I got to tell you about that, the field house facility. It is an awesome setup over there. They put a lot of money and a lot of time and effort. In addition to having a great weight room, they have got a tremendous academic setup down there. Carter's kickoff, another short one. He gets short all day. Comes down on the far side. Martin, he gets across the 30. He's replaced Marriott in returning kickoffs. 15-yard return. We don't want to confuse folks, but when we say field house, that's not where they play basketball. It's not the Dean Smith Center. There's Anthony Barber. He injured his knee against Georgia Tech for North Carolina State, the young freshman running back. And he is still, as you can see, on crutches and quite a ways from getting back onto the field as a player. But what a tremendous player he is. His high school, by the way, Garner High School, is ranked 19th by USA Today, still undefeated. Martin tries the left side. Lots of folks over there in white. Leading the charge that time defensively was Ed Reed, number 89, the sophomore out of Charlotte. Dick Sheridan's defensive unit, as we've talked about it, number 2 in the country against the rush, and they still have not allowed a touchdown in better than 9 consecutive quarters. Well, North Carolina very badly needs to break that statistic up. They need to get a touchdown here before halftime. Jonathan Hall to the air. Oh, a diving play by Fred Stone breaks it up at the 45. That's the kind of linebacking you love to see. Tremendous effort by Fred Stone. We saw him lay the big hit earlier on Torn Door. Now we see him in pass coverage. He comes back, the tight end wide open down the middle until he's allowed to come back over and jump in front, make a great play. Stone stopped a big pickup right there. 3rd and 9 for the Tar Heels from their own 32-yard line. Ball with time. Down the middle, that's intercepted. I believe it's Stone. That's who it is. Well, he went to the well once too often. 2 Wolfpack players were there vying for the ball. They had the best chance at picking it off. One of the things that Jonathan Hall is having trouble with today, he's staring down his receivers. Anytime you're going to throw the ball in the middle, you don't want to stare at your receiver the whole time. It gives the linebackers as well as the DBs a chance to break up on the ball. That time, both Vincent and Stone broke up on the ball. The receiver never had a chance. Back to the action on first down, and now North Carolina State's defensive unit rise to the occasion in the person of Alex Simakis, number 88.
You know, Kevin, North Carolina can ill afford to give up more points here. Going in at halftime, only down 2 touchdowns, that's a margin they think that they can overcome. If they go in down by 3 touchdowns, that may be something psychologically that takes them completely out of the game.
From the 48 of North Carolina after a loss of 4, it'll be 2nd and 14. Montgomery to the air. Flips it outside to Salad. Wrestled down from behind. Again, it was Simakis. He chased over there and did a good job of getting hold of Salad. Near the original line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd and about 9. 3 minutes and ticking away, and it's a 14-point North Carolina State lead.
Only once today we've seen NC State try to go deep to Peebles. Look for them to come back and do that again sometime soon.
Down the middle they go for Worthen. He's been effective crossing over the middle all day long. This one gets it down to the 21, and Naz is having a big day.
And Naz is having a great day receiving because Shane Montgomery is having a tremendous day throwing the football. He's been right on the button every time he's had to throw the football across the middle. You can see North Carolina trying to disguise their defense. Unfortunately, the one thing they can't disguise is the poor play by their linebackers. You can see them start to break up on underneath coverage, which takes them out of the deeper coverage, which they need to have.
Quick drop back, quickly out to Peebles, who slips and falls at about the 17-yard line. Well, this is nothing but an aerial attack when Shane Montgomery is in there for North Carolina State. A completely different team than we saw a couple of weeks ago at Georgia Tech when Preston Poe ran the offense. They were a conservative, option-oriented team. But with Montgomery in there, no holds barred. They come out firing away from the opening whistle. 2nd and 6. Well, a touchdown here would be virtual death knell to North Carolina. Over the middle for Kright, who's dropped from behind by John Reed, number 90.
Shane Montgomery is just doing nothing but making great decisions and delivering the ball to his receivers right dead on money.
Mal with his 7th reception of the year. Montgomery's hit 19 of 26 unofficially for 220 yards here in the first half. 2 touchdown passes. First down, just at the 10-yard line. They cannot get another first down. They would have to score. Kright straight up the middle, inside the 5. He's all the way down to the 3. It's nice when you have first down from the 10, and on the running play, you get to the 3.
Well, Mal Kreitz, their money man down here.
He has spread it around today, hasn't he? 10 different guys in white have been on the receiving end of a Montgomery pass today. That's about as wide a variety as I've ever seen.
And that's a heck of a credit to Danny Sheridan that he's been able, Sheridan, that he's been able to get that many players involved in the offense.
2nd and goal. Williams straight up the middle. Turned back. Dwight Hollier, number 53, was in there. Williams looked like he was headed for pay dirt, but he was turned around.
Again, like I said, when you get down close, there's no finesse to it. It's which team wants it the worst. Williams makes a good effort, but he's got too many hands on him to turn and fall into the end zone. Big play coming up right here for both teams.
It'll be 3rd and goal from the 1 with a timeout on the field. North Carolina's entire defensive unit comes over to the sidelines. They know how important this next play is going to be. That's how much real estate separates North Carolina State from a 24-3 lead as we're under a minute left in the first half. Just 33 seconds remain. It would be a great momentum changer if they could stop North Carolina State here.
This is a big play for North Carolina, but it's also a very big play for NC State. If they can score a touchdown here, they're going to go in at halftime 3 touchdowns up, knowing that their defensive line can come back out in the second half and tee off on whatever North Carolina tries to do.
Let's go down the sidelines, Ben and Bob Holliday.
Okay, I don't know if we can get a tight shot of this North Carolina souvenir program here, but if we can, you'll see the number 23. That is one of the running backs being honored there in North Carolina's 100th anniversary of football. Also is Amos Lawrence, Kelvin Bryant. Anyway, we've got the man, number 23 himself, Don McCauley, Don, about 20 years ago, 1970, one of your first great games of your record-setting season came here against North Carolina State. I know this series brings back many memories.
It certainly does, and it's great to see the rivalry is still present, and I wish my alma mater was doing a little bit better, but it's going to take a few years for Mac to get his program going.
Okay, thank you, Don. Kevin, back to you.
All right, 3rd and goal. Tyrone Jackson in there at the tailback spot, number 43. They give it to Crike. Touchdown! Mal Crike goes in from a yard out.
No secret to what North Carolina State wants to do. They want to give it to their biggest, strongest running back behind an all-AC center, Chuck Massaro. 6 points, NC State. Big, big deficit to overcome if you're North Carolina.
So the interception against Jonathan Hall is turned into a touchdown by North Carolina State. Damon Hartman on for the conversion, and he knocks it through there. 24-3, North Carolina State with 31 seconds left in the first half. You heard Don McCauley mention it'll take Mac Brown a while, and of course he has to get his own recruits in there to get the kind of play that he wants.
Well, it's hard enough to win with your system against other coaches' system. It makes it even harder when you have to alter your system to accommodate the type of talent that you have at your school.
Dick Crum at North Carolina before Mac Brown. They have different offensive philosophies, and what works for Dick Crum may not work for Mac Brown and vice versa, but it'll take time, and I think most of the folks in Chapel Hill realize that.
Oh, they're very, very excited to have Mac Brown here. He's one of the most personable people that I've met. You know, when you meet somebody, you can just tell they're very positive about things, and they know what they want to do. Mac Brown knows very much what he wants to do here at North Carolina. He just has got to get the players to give him the opportunity to do that.
You get the feeling talking to him yesterday in practice that he's going to get it done, and probably sooner than most expect.
Well, he's done it before. He did it at Tulane, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to do it at such a great school like North Carolina.
Carter will kick off. Blunt and Martin are deep for North Carolina. He kicks a grounder. Taken by one of the upbacks, Thompson. He gets to about the 34. And 27 seconds remain in the first half.
I think you're going to see a quarterback change here. They're going to go from Hall to May.
Deems May, number 9, a freshman, Lexington, North Carolina. With just 27 seconds left in the half, they put him in there to get him warm, and I would imagine he would open up the second half.
Well, Deems May was a tremendously highly recruited athlete out of North Carolina. Signed here 2 years ago and redshirted last year. This year he came on early, but just couldn't quite do the job against some of the better teams in the country.
He fires it outside, nearly intercepted. Campbell was the man who was there, but Benefield had it and lost it. He nearly handed it to Campbell, who is always there when there's a loose ball.
That's no big surprise to anybody who knows NC State football. May comes back and looks downfield, doesn't see anybody open, turns and makes a good delivery here. Benefield simply couldn't hang on to the ball and almost pitched it right into Jesse Campbell's hands, who would have been very thankful to take it off of his hands for him.
He'd have been gone, too, the other way. 20 seconds left in the first half. May will try it again. Under pressure, has it picked off by Stone again. That's his second of the day and his third of the season, and he made a receiver-like grab. He was fully outstretched when he corralled that one with 12 seconds left in the half.
That is a tremendous catch for anybody, and when you realize that that's a linebacker making this grab, it's all the more impressive. Again, the problem we said that Jonathan Hall had was that he was staring down his receivers and giving the linebackers a chance to break on him. Deems May came out and did exactly the same thing. Fred Stone stung him the same way he did Hall.
Let's see if Montgomery decides to get greedy and go for more with 12 seconds left.
Oh, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Fires it for Barn, incomplete. They have been throwing for Peoples, who was open at the sidelines behind Barn. 8 seconds remain, so they'll either have to throw it into the end zone now, or they won't have enough time even to line up for a field goal. Unless they can throw it to the sideline and get out of bounds.
When you've got receivers like Quarters, Worthen, and Peebles, throwing it downfield gives you a heck of an opportunity in comparison with not.
Shane Montgomery enjoying one of the finer halves of his career. Diving catch by Peebles, but he's out of bounds. Jonathan Hall, who's been replaced in the North Carolina lineup at quarterback.
Well, you got to feel for Jonathan Hall because he's a great kid and he's a great competitor. He's just been a little bit off today, and in a game like this with all the emotion, all it takes is just a little bit to be out of sync, and it's going to mess things up.
54-yard field goal attempt from Damon Hartman. He hasn't even attempted one of more than 50 this year. You won't know whether he has the leg until you see him launch it. On its way. It's good. A 54-yard field goal from Damon Hartman as time expires. A brilliant first half for the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. He's mobbed by his teammates. Here's a guy who was recruited by North Carolina as a soccer player. He went to North Carolina State as a football player and comes back to haunt the Tar Heels here in the first half. 27-3, North Carolina State is leading now at the half as Hartman boots a school record 54-yard field goal.
I got to tell you, he put some big foot into that one.
So 2 turnovers, both interceptions by Fred Stone, result in 10 North Carolina State points in the final 8 minutes of the first half, and they expand the 17-3 lead to a 27-3 halftime advantage. And the Wolfpack looking good as they hope to head to their 5th victory of the season.
Well, you know, Kevin, earlier in the season, in the first 5 games, North Carolina State's defense came up with 13 turnovers. They scored after 8 of them, and 3 other times they ran out the clock.
All right, we're going down to the sidelines with Bob Holliday. Bob?
Well, the worst of Mac Brown's fears have come true. North Carolina in every single game this year has fallen way behind in the first half. His game plan was to stay with North Carolina State today. For the first 20 minutes, he was right on schedule. He was only behind 10-3, but then a deluge of 17 points, and one more time, North Carolina is going to have to come back. And I'm afraid North Carolina State's defense is too good to give North Carolina help in overcoming a 24-point disadvantage. North Carolina State playing a great game. Hey, we said before, Shane Montgomery has produced touchdowns and field goals on most of the drives that he has conducted himself. And today he has produced touchdowns or field goals on every drive except for one. A good decision to start him at quarterback. Kevin, Ben?
I'd say an excellent decision. 27-3 at the half. North Carolina State leading North Carolina. Don't forget at halftime, we'll take a trip around the league. As always, we'll have one for the books, and we'll update you on scores from around the rest of the country. Our score 27-3, North Carolina State. We'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC stations. Time for Around the League, brought to you by Interstate Securities, because your first investment is in your broker. As always, we take you a look around the league from last week's games. The big one last week was Virginia and Clemson.
Virginia coach George Welch said he was proud of the way his defense played last Saturday against the Clemson Tigers. When this Clemson drive was halted, Chris Gardocki kicked a 33-yard field goal. That was the only score in the game until the 5.5-minute mark. After a successful 4th down conversion, Sean Moore found Herman Moore to give Virginia a 7-3 lead. But Clemson back Terry Allen helped make sure that Clemson's undefeated streak against the Cavaliers stayed intact by getting the Tigers in position for a score. With 2 minutes left, Chip Davis caught the 4th pass of his college career to give Clemson the narrow victory. Linebacker Doug Brewster was named Defensive Player of the Week, his 2nd such honor in the last 3 weeks. Down in Chapel Hill, the ACC Offensive Players of the Week led the Deacons over the Tar Heels. Quarterback Mike Elkins was 18 of 22, completing 81% of his passes for 233 yards. Ricky Prohl ran 3 yards for Wake's first touchdown, then caught 2 more. In their biggest offensive output of the year, the Deacs led at halftime 35-9. Carolina scored 15 points in the second half, but the halftime deficit was too much for the Tar Heels to overcome. Some of Bobby Ross's former players had kind words for the Georgia Tech coach after the pupil beat the teacher in the first ever Tech-Maryland matchup.
Bobby and I talked before the game. We were trying to keep it low-key, but I could see that, we were both somewhat under a strain today, but it's done. We made enough good plays to win, and they didn't, and we're 3-2, and I think that's the important thing.
The touchdown signal was a familiar sight in Raleigh when State got its revenge over East Tennessee State in a shutout. Tyrone Jackson rushed for 136 yards and scored 3 touchdowns. Speedster Danny Peebles had an 85-yard touchdown reception, his career best. Chris Williams also scored 3 touchdowns in the one-sided victory.
Sellout crowd here at Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We're at halftime with the North Carolina Tar Heels renewing the 78th rivalry with North Carolina State. Have their work cut out for them. They trail 27-3. Now let's go down to the sidelines and Bob Holliday.
And this is an interesting moment. We're here amidst the North Carolina State Band, and we're here with the new Chancellor of North Carolina, Paul Harden. Chancellor Harden was just formally sworn in this week. Congratulations on that.
Thank
Chancellor,
you very much. Thank you.
Chancellor, I know when you were at Drew University, fundraising was a big priority. How do you see the climate for fundraising here in Chapel Hill?
Excellent. We have 180,000 living alumni, all of them very enthusiastic about Carolina, and I think we'll have a good time raising money for this very fine university.
Talk a little bit about some of your other priorities as Chancellor.
Well, this is such a good school. We don't need any basic change of direction, but we've got the bicentennial observance coming up. We're the oldest state university in America, and we're in such great shape. There was a ranking last week by U.S. News and World Report. We're the 3rd-ranked public university in America. I'm very proud of that record and determined to maintain that strong performance.
Chancellor, North Carolina, of course, has had a program of athletic excellence and academic excellence. Do you see that continuing?
Absolutely. We're going to win the rest of them. We're not doing too well today, but we're going to be right back on track.
Thank you, Chancellor. Let's go back upstairs.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. Our congratulations to the new Chancellor here at North Carolina. Tar Heels need some help. They trail at halftime, 27-3. We'll be back with more halftime festivities. Welcome back here at halftime. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett, 27-3. North Carolina State leading here at halftime. And Ben, if you're in the North Carolina locker room, you hope to pull a miracle out of your bag.
Well, and that's going to be a very tough one to do because NC State is 4-0 when they lead at halftime. North Carolina has played well in the second half of games that they've been behind, but a lot of times that's been because they've been playing against second and third teamers.
Yeah, and it may happen here this afternoon. Deems May got the nod at quarterback near the end of the half for North Carolina, so we may well see him take over in the second half.
Well, Deems May is a great player if he gets time to throw the football and he can deliver it on target. If not, Carolina may be in for a long second half, too.
Good day here for North Carolina State. Reminds Wolfpack followers of the days when Lou Holtz and the Bucky twins were roaming the pack. And here's our look back and our one for the books, Delta.
Delta, the airline of ACC country, is proud to bring you another ACC football one for the books. Delta, we love to fly, and it shows. In 1972, freshmen were for the first time eligible to play varsity college football. North Carolina State took full advantage of that rule change with the arrival of the Bucky twins from Akron, Ohio. Quarterback Dave, number 11, and wide receiver Don, number 19, were not heavily recruited by major schools, but they led North Carolina State to 4 bowl games in 4 years, as good a stretch as Wolfpack football has seen. The Buckies helped State roll up 33 new team and individual records during their tenure. Don caught 102 passes for 1,735 yards and 5 touchdowns, 17-yard per catch average. While Dave is the all-time state passing leader with 4,286 yards, completing a sparkling 58% of his tries. The Buckies were on Sports Illustrated's cover as freshmen, and they capped that 72 season by leading State to a 49-13 thrashing of favorite West Virginia in the Peach Bowl. In 1974, Dave hit an incredible 65% of his passes. In one game against Virginia, he hit a record 76.7% in bringing State back from 21 points down early in one of its most thrilling wins. As you might suspect, as twins, the Buckies had what seemed to others an uncanny communication between them on the field. Now, both in private business, the Buckies under coach Lou Holtz led State to 33 wins in 4 years, including 2 wins and a tie in 4 bowls. The Buckies, Dave and Don, truly 2 for the books. This has been another ACC One for the Books, brought to you by Delta Airlines. We love to fly, and it shows.
Back at halftime, Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. North Carolina State's Wolfpack sitting pretty on top of the Tar Heels, 27-3 here at the half. It was a splurge for North Carolina State in the last 8 minutes of the first half that got them 13 points. Coming into today's action, this is the way the conference shaped up. Clemson and Maryland on top at 2-0. Duke at 1-0 in conference play, but they're the only unbeaten team overall in the conference, and they have to go to Clemson. That game will be later on today. Maryland and Wake Forest also play. You can see North Carolina State slowly creeping back into things. If they would win today, they would go to 3-1 and Ben, the disappointing team there thus far this season, a team picked to be near the top of the standings, was Virginia, and they're struggling in at 1-2 in conference play.
Well, Virginia's got a lot of talented players. They've got a great coach. They just haven't found the proper chemistry this year. Duke, on the other hand, picked at the bottom of the conference, has come back and they've clicked when they had to, which is at the end of the football game. They've won some very close ones. This is a big game for Clemson and Duke both. Clemson's 4-1, but they still may be in a tailspin because of the loss of Florida State. It's going to be a huge game for conference standings. I'd like to see what's going to happen.
Well, I think you have an idea of what you think might happen, don't you?
Well, I think Clemson is going to try to run the ball all day on Duke, and conversely, I think that Duke is going to try to throw the ball all day on Clemson. Whichever team executes the best and makes the least amount of turnovers, I think will win the football game.
And who do you think that's going to be?
I can't say. I just have to be a good boy and say I think it's going to be a great game.
The winner of that game will be in the driver's seat for the conference championship, and of course the conference champion will be going to the Citrus Bowl, and that is a very prestigious bowl. It has been moved up to January 2nd now, and it will give the conference some great exposure.
Well, Kevin, in addition to having the monetary payoff, over $1 million, it gives an ACC team the opportunity to play in a New Year's Day or the post-New Year's Day bowl game. National TV brings a lot of exposure to a conference that is just now beginning to really start to make itself known in college football.
All right, we're going to check the rest of the scores from around the country in college football this afternoon. Rutgers leading BC. That one's in the second quarter, 7-3. So Rutgers going after everybody on their schedule this year, and they have played very impressively to this point. And they lead over Boston College. Illinois on the rebound after a slow start this year, leading over lowly Wisconsin by a point at halftime. Florida trailing the Vanderbilt. Duke had to struggle to beat Vanderbilt. Florida coming off their surprising loss a week ago. 7-0 they lead. South Carolina falling behind Georgia Tech. That would be a shocker. 1:18 or 11:18 left in the second quarter. Georgia Tech with a 2-touchdown lead. And in the first quarter, Wake Forest and Maryland are scoreless early in that game. All right, 27-3 North Carolina State leading here at the half. We'll be back after these messages from your local ACC stations.
This Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions ACC Sports Exclusive is brought to you by the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. For insurance and financial services, better call JP. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down with a silver bullet. It's the right beer now. By the airline of ACC country, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Sellout crowd on a perfect day for football here at Kenan Stadium. 27-3 North Carolina State over the Tar Heels. Kevin Slayton, Ben Bennett, and Bob Holliday down on the sidelines. North Carolina State got it going early when they surprised everyone, especially the Tar Heels, by starting Shane Montgomery at quarterback, and they operated out of their 2-minute offense. And Montgomery was in control from the start as he drove North Carolina State down the field to a touchdown in their very first series of downs, and then it's been all State since. We're going to check the numbers from the first half, our Toyota statistics, and you can see the passing game for North Carolina State, Ben, has just been dominant.
And the reason it has, in addition to the fact that North Carolina State arguably has the fastest set of receivers in the country, Shane Montgomery has made good decisions, and after that has made great throws. They have 10 different players that have got their hands on the ball today, so you know they're spreading the football around.
Coaches always say they like to look at time of possession. You can tell who's ahead. Well, if you look at it here today, North Carolina almost 3 more minutes of possession, but 24 less points. And that's because of that offense that North Carolina State has employed, the hurry-up style, and loaded with a passing attack. And they've been awfully effective here this afternoon.
I can tell you, I don't know a coach that would rather have time of possession than the score that NC State has.
Those are the mistakes North Carolina made in the first half. They had an interference penalty called them inside the 5. Then the 2 interceptions by Stone, the linebacker. He intercepted first Hall, and then the second one was thrown by Deems May. And that led to points near the end of the half. So Fred Stone, the linebacker for North Carolina State, has 2 grabs. And that really broke the back of North Carolina near the end of the half.
And the second interception that he made was a tremendous play for a linebacker. He had to go far to his right, lean way over to get his hands on the football, and then still had the presence of mind to hang on, turn up field, and gain some yards.
Cannon Watson will be kicking off for North Carolina. Chris Williams standing deep for North Carolina State. Set to be underway here in the second half. Better than 52,000 on hand for the 78th renewal of the North Carolina State rivalry. Over on the far side, that's Quarters, or Shantee, I should say. And he gets to the 27-yard line, and that is where North Carolina State will put it in play, first down.
I can tell you one thing we've seen from both teams throughout this game is we've seen great coverage on the kickoffs. The kicks have been short, some have been long, but no matter where it went, they've been down there laying some leather to whoever got their hands on a football.
Montgomery's still in there at quarterback for North Carolina State. As we get deeper into the second half, we may see Pogue because he runs their running offense a little bit better than Montgomery does.
May very well see Davenport, too, the third quarterback they have in their arsenal.
For now, Montgomery to the air for Peebles. He adjusts the ball and makes the catch in front of Baldwin as a flag goes down. Well, that young secondary of North Carolina is getting a lesson today, but we'll wait and see what the flag is all about.
Again, Shane Montgomery delivering the ball deep. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit behind. Great play to come back and get their hands on the ball.
They've called offensive interference against Peebles. I don't know if we can pick it up there in the replay, but that'll bring it back. As he came to adjust to the ball, he must have pushed off. So 46-yard pass play is going to be nullified. And North Carolina State not content to sit on their lead, going for the home run ball in the first play of the second half. That'll take it back inside the 15, and the officials will spot it at the 12.
Well, Coach Sheridan knows.
Down, 15-yard penalty.
Coach Sheridan knows that any team on any Saturday is capable of coming back, and he wants to make sure he puts this one out of reach.
2nd and 25 for North Carolina State. Offensive interference, carrying with it a loss of down. Montgomery from Mount Fright has some blockers in front. Gets to about the 20 before he's tripped up. Voltage, number 7, was in there on this time.
North Carolina is trying very hard to disguise their coverages. Shane Montgomery has picked up just about every move that they've made and completed passes to everybody.
Mal Cricht, the senior, 222 pounds of him. Looks tough. 3rd and 16. Montgomery with time. Down the middle, he unloads for Peebles. Oh, a one-handed interception that time by Terrence Bed. He's bringing it back inside the 40. The freshman, Terrence Bed, with a spectacular play.
This is an unbelievable catch. North Carolina State, again, trying to deliver the knockout blow. And if you're going to do it, throw the ball deep to Danny Peebles. Peebles running by the cornerback, but not quite early enough. The ball wasn't delivered quite early enough and quite far enough to let Peebles outrun everybody. Again, Shane Montgomery throwing the ball underneath, not far enough on the deep patterns, and what a great interception that was.
All right, North Carolina in business. We'll return for more ACC football in a moment.
Oktoberfest can be very boring, you know.
Mac Brown, the North Carolina coach, happy with that great interception from Terrence Bed, making his first start in the Carolina secondary as a freshman. And Mac has elected to stick with Jonathan Hall here in the second half at quarterback. They'll run Kennard Martin, trying to get away, but doesn't do it. Mark Thomas stayed with him, along with Ray Agnew, number 93.
Sometimes when you're trying to deliver the knockout blow, you end up getting knocked out yourself. North Carolina is still down by 24 points. A big interception. Should they score here, it could give them a lot of confidence going into the rest of the game.
Hall still has it. delivers it high for Keller, the tight end. Michael Brooks, the headhunter, out there defensively. Hall had to throw it over the on-rushing defensive lineman, so very quickly now the Tar Heels looking at 3rd and 10. So for Hall, who has not enjoyed a splendid passing day, this is a big one.
And again, one of the problems that Jonathan Hall is having is he's got people up in his face when he's trying to throw the football.
Flips it outside for Thompson, but a good job defensively by Scott Auer. He got in between Thompson and Jonathan Hall, so 3 plays and out for the Tar Heels.
Well, they may not necessarily be out. They may go for it here on fourth down. Jonathan Hall, you've seen him complete this 2 or 3 times earlier this game. Unfortunately for him, the linebackers get upfield and are starting to peel off and cover the running backs.
They will go for it on 4th down. They really, I guess, don't have much choice down 27-3 when presented with an opportunity like this. 4th and 10 from the Wolfpack 40. Hall delivers it short. Intended on the sidelines for Eric Blunt. So North Carolina State's defensive team stiffens there at the 40, and they'll get it back after the interception. So that kills whatever momentum North Carolina was able to muster from the turnover, and now it sends their defensive unit back onto the field. (27-3) our score. We'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC station. Back live, Kenan Stadium, Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett, 27-3, the Wolfpack over the Tar Heels. A reminder, the announcers of this game are approved and selected by Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, unauthorized duplication, or reception of this broadcast without the express written permission of Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions is prohibited. Dick Sheridan looking on. We've talked a lot about the North Carolina State defensive team, but offensively, the Wolfpack averaging over 29 points a game coming in. That was second in the conference. They're also second in rushing, passing, and total offense. So it's not a one-dimensional team. Whistles sound, flags fly. Looks like the left side of the line may have moved a little bit early.
A little over-anxious.
Todd Harrison, the freshman from Gainesville, Florida. You know, I was about to remark earlier as we started the second half that very, very few flags in the first half, if I can even recall a single one. And 2 already here at the start of the third quarter. So 1st and 15 for the Wolfpack. They'll go out of their one-back set with Sally back there. Shane Montgomery has had time all day. There's his tight end who jumped offside, and he gets it pulling his way to the 46-yard line. So Todd Harrison with his first catch of the day. 10-yard pickup. It'll be 2nd down and 5.
The thing that I really like about NC State's play selection today is they haven't stuck with one single thing. They've gone deep, they've gone short, they've run the football, they've gone across the middle. They've really mixed it up, and it makes it really difficult for North Carolina to key on any one person. Montgomery looking downfield, waits until North Carolina gets good deep drops, delivers underneath, and picks up good yards.
Back to the action. Montgomery down the middle for Worthen. He gets sandwiched near midfield. And he hops right up. Wooltich was there, number 7, to really stick it, but he had some help. And I think he had the first down, and then they drove him back. Let's see where they mark it. I think they're going to give him the first down.
Well, Wooltich has had a frustrating afternoon so far, taking out a little bit of his frustration on Naz Worthen.
First down for State inside the 49 of North Carolina. Jackson. Hastily sidestepping his way into the secondary. Jackson at the 30 gets knocked down from behind as he was trying to cut it back. Number 93, Willie Joe Walker, came back to get him, but a 24-yard gain for Tyrone Jackson.
Again, NC State's offensive line doing a tremendous job opening holes, and then Tyrone Jackson just does what he does best. Makes people miss him and gets the football down the field. Great run right there.
Some great moves from Tyrone. Just a freshman out of Temple Hills, Maryland, had 136 yards last week. The first Wolfpack running back to go over the 100-yard marker since Crichton did it in their bowl game 2 years ago. There goes Crichton straight up the middle. He's down near the 20 before he is wrapped up.
One of the things that happens to a team that's in a losing streak like North Carolina is they start to expect bad things to happen to them. They try as hard as they can. They play hard. They do everything they can. But in the back of their minds, that little voice tells them, hey, you're still 0-5. Bad things are going to happen. Unfortunately for them, they have on this drive. NC State has made some good play selection.
2nd and 6 after a 4-yard pickup. Montgomery has it batted down at the line of scrimmage. Looked like Roy Barker, number 92, got a mid up there and got a hold of it. And, of course, it goes back to last season. Carolina's now lost 8 in a row. And that's the kind of a streak that you like to end as quickly as possible.
Well, I'll give you a classic example of one of the problems they've had on defense. Mac Brown told us yesterday, and what reminded me of it was the fact that the ball got knocked down in the line. That's the first ball they've knocked down on defense this year.
That's an incredible number when you consider your 6th game. Montgomery on 3rd and 6. Wide open to Salad. First down inside the 10. Collier was there to stop him from taking it in. What a performance by this man's team today, Dick Sheridan.
Watch the linebackers for North Carolina. They're standing around catching and trying to play man-to-man coverage, but they're not attacking. They get picked off. NC State ran a crossing route. The cover man got picked off. He should have actually picked up more yards, but North Carolina secondary made a good reaction.
Last time they had this situation, they ran it with the fullback. This time they tossed it to Jackson. Trying to get outside, in trouble, drops for a loss. Doxy Jordan, number 4, came up from the secondary and made a nice open field tackle. So that'll knock him back to the 12 after a loss of 3. Jackson is out of there. Todd Barn, number 15, replaces him.
Don't be surprised if they go to Barn.
In the end zone, Worthen, touchdown!
You know, you just got to say to yourself, when they've got players of this amount of ability, eventually they're going to make something big happen. This is the same play that they've run 3 or 4 times earlier with Varn going down the seam. This time, Montgomery turns and throws to Worthen wide open for the touchdown.
For Naz Worthen, his 3rd touchdown reception of the year. Hartman on for the conversion. He's perfect. Montgomery had thrown only 1 touchdown pass all season, but he's now thrown 3 today. He's having the kind of game quarterbacks dream of.
NC State, earlier in the game, 2 or 3 times has gone to Todd Barn. This time, Montgomery turns and looks the other way. Worthen had run a quick post pattern and again beat it Bullitich. Touchdown, NC State.
Montgomery likes it. He knows he's thrown 3, and Worthen goes over the 100-yard mark receptions today. 34-3, North Carolina State increases its lead. More ACC football coming up. North Carolina State in command of this one. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett. Bob Holliday down on the sidelines. Naz Worthen just hooking up for a 12-yard scoring pass with Shane Montgomery to add on to the North Carolina State lead. The spirit of the North Carolina faithful still in full force. Sellout crowd here today has been disappointed.
Well, you know, Kevin, in our conversation yesterday with Mac Brown, he said he was terrified of NC State and teams like NC State, Duke, for instance, because they throw the football so well. He thinks that his defense has a great deal of difficulty covering people downfield, and that has evidenced itself today boldly.
The scoring drive for the Wolfpack. And give credit to Dick Sheridan. He was the one who selected Shane Montgomery to start at the last minute. Carter to kick off, and Montgomery has responded with a sensational game. All the way into the end zone. They better cover it. Martin chases it and goes out of bounds. But it was Montgomery in that 2-minute hurry-up offense that really provided the impetus today for the Wolfpack. Jonathan Hall trots back out as the quarterback for North Carolina. Not one of his more memorable days. He had been improving steadily from game to game, but well, they've run into a stingy Wolfpack defensive unit today. North Carolina State really airing it out today. Hall trying to gun it for Marriott, but it's incomplete. Over there was Joe Johnson, number 21, defending. So that'll make it second down. 9:59 left in the third quarter.
One of the things that you look for when a game is getting this far out of hand is you look for coaches on both sides to try and still get some positive things out of the second half. North Carolina going to try to work on their execution and probably get some younger players in there. NC State looking to do the same thing on defense.
Ball to the air. Down he goes inside the 10. Agnew was in there first. He gets the sack. The last 10 times North Carolina has tried to pass, 7 have been incomplete, 2 have been intercepted, and now a sack.
Well, you can't do anything as a quarterback if you can't get time to throw the football. Jonathan Hall steps up in the pocket and sees nothing but white. That's not a good sign.
4th sack of the year for Ray Agnew. Back inside the 10 makes it 3rd and 20. Third time Hall has been sacked today. He'll try to throw it again. In trouble again. Now has to scramble out of there. Jesse Campbell over there to wrap him up. And North Carolina will have to kick it away. Now we'll keep an eye on North Carolina State. See if they send Pogan at quarterback to run the ball and try to kill the clock.
Well, this is one of the things that Jonathan Hall does so well for North Carolina. He scrambles out of trouble. Unfortunately for North Carolina, they were in a 3rd and long. Hall just can't do it all by himself.
Be interesting to see who Dick Sheridan sends out there because memories run deep. And with the game well in hand, if they continue to throw, it might be something that North Carolina would look to in the next couple of years. Carter's inside his own 40. He runs straight into Morgan, who drops him at the 40. So a good punt from McAllister, this time 47 yards. Carolina State will start at their own 41 when we come back. We'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC stations. Back at Kenan Stadium, there's Preston Pogue in the center of your picture. He is the new North Carolina State quarterback, so Dick Sheridan not running the score up with Montgomery's aerial attack. Let's go down the sidelines. Bob Holliday.
Oh, Dick Sheridan's bringing back the glory days at North Carolina State. Prior to this, I think folks thought about 1972 to 75 as the glory days. The coach was Lou Holtz and the quarterback, Dave Bucky. Dave didn't have Naz Worthen and Danny Peebles to throw to, but he had his twin brother, Don. I know this series brings back a lot of memories for you.
Oh, it really does. This is really a change, though. We never had the opportunity to win a game over here like this, though.
Well, you won a couple in Raleigh, I know that.
Yeah, the 4 years I was in school, we beat them 2 times in Raleigh. They beat us 2 times here, and 1 time they nailed us pretty good.
Part of the reason that Dave is still in Raleigh is because of his wife, Kathy. We're bringing Kathy Bucky in here now. Kathy is the North Carolina State cheerleader coach, and I can say this, that it's a matter of fact. Kathy is the coach of one of the great cheerleading teams in America. Kathy, you got them running miles. These folks even get taped up before games. They're athletes.
Right, they sure are. They lift, they run miles, they do tape, they do prepare themselves just like athletes, and we're out here an hour and a half before the game.
And we see them being acrobatic in the background. Good luck at the Nationals this year.
Thank you. I hope we win.
All right, Kevin, back up to you.
Thank you, Bob. Pogue's first play from scrimmage, and they'll go to the ground game. Tyrone Jackson will eat up some yardage inside North Carolina territory to about the 37. And how about this score? 24-0. Georgia Tech is leading South Carolina. That game is not a final. It's not a final. It's in the second quarter. 24-0. Georgia Tech over previously unbeaten Gamecocks of South Carolina. Ben, that'll make some people open their eyes.
Especially people around the country when they talk about ACC football. That would be a big upset for this conference.
Here's Worthen, so they go to the air with a quick screen. Naz is having a big day with his 8th catch. He's smothered as he gets to the 40, short of the first down. Cracked the 100-yard barrier in yardage a few minutes ago on his touchdown catch.
You know, Kevin, one of the things that Sheridan is trying to do, he's trying not to run up the score. You don't ever want to humiliate a team that you have to play every year because it can come back and haunt you. But the problem that he has, he's got 3 great quarterbacks, so no matter which one he uses, they can put points on the board.
And you hate to tell them to go in there and just sit on the ball. And as long as the pass is thrown or selective ones like that, you're not running it up. There goes Hayden straight up the middle. He's ridden down by Bernard Timmons. So Hayden, the second-string fullback, is in there, and he picks up 8 yards. North Carolina State is a very deep team offensively. The tailback spot, they have 3 or 4 guys who can burn you. And at the fullback spot, they have Crichton, now this youngster Hayden. He's just a freshman.
They've got some tremendous talent in their backfield, and they have not been scared to use any of them in any situation this year.
The draw to Jackson. He's dropped. Alex Simakis, number 88, gets him. Well, people talk about North Carolina State in 4-1, and they've said, well, their schedule hasn't been that tough. But I'll tell you something. They've been very impressive offensively and defensively, consistently in every single game they play.
Well, they beat a very good Wake Forest football team, and they came up just short against another good team in Maryland. So they're really starting to get some momentum rolling into the second half of the season.
As they go into the tougher portion of their schedule. Oh, pitches it back to Todd Barnes. Tries to turn the corner, and then Timmons knocks him backwards. Bring up a third down situation for the Wolfpack. They're working on the clock with 6.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
This is what Preston Pope does so well. He does what we know as dealing on the option. He comes down just before he gets popped. He lets the ball go to Todd Barnes, who turns up the field with the painful rib injury he has and still puts his head down and takes the lick.
They've converted third downs 10 of 12 times today. That's an incredible number. Oh, in trouble. It's away. Now he slips and falls. He was hemmed in by Mike Bowman, number 11, the outside linebacker, but he slipped and fell as he was trying to cut. And they'll send out Damon Hartman, who boomed a 54-yarder just as the clock expired at the end of the first half.
He thumped that baby through right as the clock went out.
This one will be a 45-yard attempt. Prior to today, his longest had been 45. That 54-yarder was a new North Carolina State record. Trying to add the Wolfpack advantage. It has the distance, but he misses, sliding it off to the side. So with 5:25 left in the third quarter, the score remains 34-3. North Carolina trailing. Now let's see if they remain with Jonathan Hall at quarterback. They will. He heads back into the offensive huddle. Type of situation, Ben, where you got to get a junior quarterback some more confidence. He's had a tough year coming back from double shoulder surgery, and he's playing with a very young team. You don't want to get him down too far because you always have next year to play. Now he loses the snap. Flags go down.
We've heard the expression, when it rains, it pours. As you get behind and as you start to get into the trend, well, here we go again, you start to make little mental mistakes that kill you. This is one of the worst that a quarterback can make, is to not get the snap from center.
He's anxious to get back to and complete a pass. Scott McAllister is loosening up on the sidelines for North Carolina. He's a reserve quarterback, but he just may be practicing snap because he is the punter also. Hanging it out to dry. Jesse Campbell, that great freshman safety for North Carolina State, really made him pay for it. You know, Thompson really got it. You don't want to hang him up there like that.
This kid is a big hitter, Jesse Campbell. Jonathan Hall, again, looking downfield, not seeing anybody open, turns to come back underneath. By that time, Jesse Campbell has seen the bullseye on the back of the receiver.
3rd and 10. explosive play from Mike Jones. This North Carolina State defensive unit has now gone 2 quarters today. In addition to the 8 in a row they had in the streak, 10 in a row now without allowing a touchdown.
You're seeing frustration at its very highest point for Jonathan Hall. He steps up, has a receiver open, and just can't get rid of the football. It's one thing to get sacked, but it's even more frustrating when you're just ready to release the ball and it gets knocked out of your hands.
McAllister on to punt it away. A high short punt, bounces at the 40. And the Tar Heels will let it roll. Kill it at the 32. And that's where North Carolina State takes over after a 39-yard punt. Our game next week, George Welsh and Virginia will battle Wake Forest. Coach Welsh's team struggling a little bit this year. Sean Moore trying to fit in a quarterback. Tim Finkelstein leads the team in reception yardage this year. Moore throwing the ball pretty well on occasion, but hasn't been able to get the ball deep to John Ford, his big play guy. That's next Saturday. They'll battle Wake Forest right here on all of these ACC stations. Back to the action. Tyrone Jackson gets outside past Jordan as he turns the corner. Midfield is run out of bounds. Chuck Sledge, number 47, ran him down, but not before Jackson picked up 19 more.
Again, NC State not trying to do anything outstanding here, but they're just executing against North Carolina's defense tremendously. When you've got talent in the backfield as deep as NC State does, no matter who you put in there, if the play is executed properly, they're going to pick up some big yards.
2 great freshmen, Anthony Barber and Tyrone Jackson in that backfield. Vanderbilt leading at halftime. And Maryland out in front of Wake Forest. The Terps are getting back into the race. The delay. I won't get too far. But the 4 tailbacks that Dick Sheridan has, Todd Barn, who's a junior, Chris Williams is a sophomore, Jackson and Barber, both freshmen. You can choose from any one of those 4. Today it's been Jackson who's looked the most effective, as it was last week, so he may be making a name for himself.
They've used Barn mostly today in passing situations, and he's been open downfield.
2nd and 7. Preston Pogue under pressure. Fires it complete. Inside the 40. Flag is down. Inside the 30. Flag is down in the North Carolina State backfield as Brian Roxburgh gets it down deep into Carolina territory. But we'll wait and see. It's going to work against the Wolfpack.
That usually means holding, and that's what it is.
3:52 remaining in the 3rd quarter. North Carolina State has had things pretty much their own way since the opening series. They drove down and scored. Mac Brown's team nearly came back with a touchdown of their own. They had 3rd and goal from the 1. And they tried a passing play, and Jonathan Hall was sacked for a 10-yard loss. And things haven't been the same since.
And again, North Carolina State came with the blitz. And when you blitz down that low, you're taking that close to the end zone, you're taking a big risk. It paid off for NC State.
2nd out and 17 on their own 44. Oh, no, nearly intercepted. It went off the hands of Chris Williams, and then it was nearly picked off by Chuck Sledge.
The things that both coaches are looking for in this second half as they start to put players in is guys that are not giving up. They want to see people that are trying to the very end. You see a great effort at the interception there by Williams. He just couldn't quite come up with it.
3rd and 17 for the Wolfpack. They'll run the draw. Williams gets it across the 45. And they'll have to punt it away. This is the first time North Carolina State has had to punt all afternoon. That's how impressive their offense has been. So Preston Pogue, their quarterback, will stay out there to kick it away.
Don't be surprised if North Carolina comes back out and tries to get Deems Mason playing time here going at the end of the game. They really think he's a tremendous potential, and they want to see him get a chance to really be what he can be. Nearly blocked. They're not going to call her up in penalty. Blunt lets it go into the end zone. Good opportunity for a block. In fact, the official signaled to Dick Sheridan on the side that he thinks the player got a piece of the ball, and that's why he didn't call the roughing. Let's go down to the sidelines and Bob Holliday.
I believe that was the first. That was the first time that North Carolina forced North Carolina State to punt. That's been a problem all season for the Tar Heels. They simply haven't been able to stop people and force them to punt. The difference in this game, North Carolina State is quicker to the football. North Carolina State's defense is on the football. North Carolina seems to be a step behind. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. We go back to the weight and nutrition program that NC State had this summer. The Wolfpack is lighter and quicker. It's the story of the game, one of the big stories of this season. Guys, let's go back up to you.
All right, Bob Deems-May is in there. There's Walker Willie Joe on the sidelines expressing the sentiment pretty much that North Carolina feels today. Pick up a 5 for Kennard Martin, so Deems-May, the freshman, is going to get some playing time the rest of the way.
You know, to follow up what Bob just said, the NC State coaches had a tremendous amount of their players, well over half of their team, stay in town this summer to work out, get stronger, and get ready for this season.
Martin again, Mark Thomas and Ray Agnew in there on the stop. So Martin short of the first down at the 26. Well, they had a disappointing year last year, the Wolfpack did, after Dick Sheridan's first year that resulted in a bowl trip. And I think that they had to come back and they had something to prove coming into this season. Thus far, they've proved it in spades. 4-1 coming in, on their way to their 5th victory of the year as May drops back, in trouble, fires it out for Marriott. He makes the catch and has the first down at the 36-yard line. That's a long throw all the way across the field.
A long throw for a little bit of yards. But Deems-May has the kind of arm strength that he can get away with throwing these types of passes. They respect Marriott's speed, so they play off him. Marriott makes a great catch there at the end of the play. Good throw by Deems-May.
1:52 remaining in the third quarter. Brady Harris over there for North Carolina State, resting along the sideline. May lofts it for Keller, the tight end, too far.
One of the things you really don't want to see when a game is this far out of hand, even though you're putting in younger players and trying different things, you never want to see injuries. Both coaches sincerely hope that you come out of the game, although you've lost or you've won big, you really don't want to come out of the game and have people hurt bad enough that it keeps them out of the following week's game, or even worse, that it keeps them out for the rest of the season.
2nd and 10 for the Tar Heels. May completes it to Benefield. Flag goes down. Benefield's up to the 43. You know, North Carolina State has started somewhat of a tradition. They go over to backup quarterback Joe Hollowell's house for dinner for the seniors on Thursday nights. There's the signal holding against North Carolina. They did it after wins over Georgia Tech, East Tennessee, and then they did it again this week. So they're 3-0, and they eat at Hollowell's house on Thursday night.
I can promise you they'll be back there again this Thursday night.
We have holding on the offense, 10-yard penalty.
And now that they don't have to play each other, you may see the North Carolina seniors over at Joe Hollowell's house on Thursday night.
34-3 is the score. Shane Montgomery, who's been out of the game for the last 6-7 minutes, started at quarterback for North Carolina State and had himself a day that he'll remember for a long time when it comes down to this rivalry.
The thing that made him so effective today is he made good decisions. He wasn't impatient. He didn't try to force the ball into coverage. He hit the open man and let them do what they could with the football.
2nd and 20 for Deems-May. The big freshman, he guns it, intercepted by Brooks. He may take it. He gets a block. He's inside the 20 and run out of bounds. North Carolina State doing everything right. First interception of the year for Brooks.
This is exactly the same play as we saw Michael Brooks lay out the North Carolina tight end. Again, the North Carolina QB, Deems-May, lets the ball go high and out in front. Brooks, instead of laying the big hit, comes up, makes a big catch, runs the ball back, gives State a chance to put the ball in the end zone again.
From the Carolina 18, Tyrone Jackson. Following his blockers inside the 15. Chuck Sledge is there, number 47. You know, Kevin, I mentioned earlier that North Carolina State has done a tremendous job in scoring after they get a turnover. Successful 8 out of 13 times that they've gotten turnovers. The other 3 times, they've run out the clock. Let's see if they keep that trend going here. 3 times they've been inside the 20, they've scored. There's Hayden up the middle, trying for the first down. He's near the 10, he'll be short of it. And a reminder for those Wolfpack fans out there watching, the tickets still remain for their homecoming game against Duke on November 12th. You can call 737-2106. That's tickets for the homecoming game against Duke, November 12th. For all those Wolfpack fans, 25 seconds and ticking away here.
And if that game against Duke, they decide to go with the same 2-minute offense, you may have a 5-hour ball game and 1,500 yards of total offense.
And plenty of points. See if Pogue can get off the play here. 4 seconds left. He's going to let it kick down. And that's the end of the third quarter. So North Carolina State leads at 34-3. And we'll return to Kenan Stadium for more ACC football after you see this. Back live, the people that never quit cheering for their team. North Carolina State cheerleaders have a lot to smile about today. 34-3. On the other hand, for Carolina, it's been a long day. 34-3. But they're still at it. North Carolina State's offensive unit has had the better of it on the field. And they're looking now at 3rd and 2. And Pogue called the timeout. So he'll go to the sideline and check with Dick Sheridan. You know, this series has traditionally been very close. The last 4 games were decided by 7 points or less. Last year by 3 points, the year before by 1. But North Carolina State coming in here this year really looking good. 5-1 they would go to if they would win this game, and it looks as though they certainly will. North Carolina having a rough season. Started off with a rough schedule. Tough way for Mack Brown to open up as head coach here, Ben, to schedule the likes of Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Auburn in your first 4 games.
Well, Mack Brown is the type of coach that'll find something positive in everything that goes on. He feels like his team learned a lot in the games against 3 of probably the top 10 ranked teams in the country. And what you got to do if you're Mack Brown is use that as a plus. Say, look, we played some tough games. We didn't do so well, but everybody kept fighting, and you just try to move ahead and get ready for your next week's game.
And you saw our next week's game, Virginia at Wake Forest. That'll come your way next Saturday at noon on these ACC stations. So stay with us for that one. Wake Forest steadily improving. Bill Dooley, the head coach at Wake Forest, they're playing Maryland today in a key game. Mike Elkins, their quarterback, is having a good year as everybody expected him to have. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Back to the action here. Straight up the middle to go the Wolfpack. Down close to the 5, Hayden is, and he has a first down, it would appear. And he does. 1st and goal, North Carolina State. Well, they've hit better than their average today. They were averaging better than 29 points a game coming in. And they've scored 34. They're closing in on going over the 40 mark. So a young defense for North Carolina has their confidence sinking a little bit further. Jackson trying to get outside, heading for the goal line. Touchdown! 6-yard touchdown run for Tyrone Jackson.
One of the liabilities that Mack Brown told us about his defense is that they just don't have the team speed that they need. Here's a tremendous example of that. Jackson just gets his hands on the ball, gets to the outside, outruns everybody to the corner.
Jackson is the game's leading rusher with 66 yards on the ground and that touchdown run. Damon Hartman's been a busy guy. He converts the point after, and it's 41-3 North Carolina State.
again, Jackson's speed, his biggest asset on this play. He takes the pitch. There's no moves to it. He's just going to outleg everybody to the corner of the end zone.
We'll return to Kenan Stadium for more. We'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC station. Here at Kenan Stadium, Naz Worthen and some of his North Carolina State teammates enjoying themselves today, as well they should. Naz has a touchdown catch today. It's the most points ever scored by North Carolina State in this storied rivalry against North Carolina. 41-3, they lead. The last time they came close to 41 was in 1968. North Carolina State won 38-6.
As we mentioned at the top of the telecast, one of the advantages that a win in these rivalries does is it gives you a big leg up in recruiting. 4 major universities in North Carolina all trying to recruit mostly the same kids.
Well, there's a determined effort. Kennard Martin breaking tackles. He's not quitting. 18-yard return, and I mean, he did it the hard way.
And it takes a lot of character out of a kid to be down by this much and still be banging heads and doing everything he can to help his team win. Martin takes a tremendous shot. He's not quitting. He's driving his legs, trying to get positive yards, doing everything he can to help the team. And I can promise you that doesn't go unnoticed by the coaching staff.
Deems May, their quarterback. Look at Georgia Tech over South Carolina. That game's at the half. Well, that's the stunner in the country today. Torn Doran trying to get outside, really gets hammered. Georgia Tech having trouble scoring against everybody all year. Goes up against 8th-ranked and unbeaten South Carolina. They're hammered at the half. Of course, it's not over, and there's a long way to go, and Todd Ellis could heat it up in a hurry.
Well, that's the truth. Todd Ellis is a great QB, but the one thing Georgia Tech has is a tremendous pass defense. The reason they have a tremendous pass defense, Crockett, Malone, these guys get around the quarterback constantly. It looks like they're giving Ellis fits.
Doran again, straight up the middle, breaks through a hole, gets to the 50 into North Carolina State territory. And, you know, you look at the score, 41-3, and you think, why run the ball? But that's their effective offense, is running the football. And that's the way they'll get into the end zone if they're going to.
Absolutely. And what they're trying to do, they're trying to get themselves ready for other games. They're trying to get their execution down as best they can. Torrin Dorn making a great individual effort after UNC's offensive line, which has a lot of talent, opens up a good hole for him.
21-yard pickup on that one. Here he goes again. Runs into a man. Dexter Royal did a good job, number 25, of getting in the way.
He did more than get in the way. He delivered a blow and disrupted the entire flow of the sweep.
He got turned around by the block and then knocked right into the pathway of Torrin Dorn. Royal, a sophomore out of Greensboro. Big Sheridan has his second teamers in there.
A lot of times, games like this is where you find great players for later in your season, and obviously next year if they're underclassmen.
Dorn going nowhere this time. Mike Jones riding him down, number 99. He's had a big game. He had a sack, and then he deflected a pass.
Again, this is North Carolina's strong suit, is their offensive line opening up holes and letting the running backs pick and choose their way. That time, NC State's linebackers fill the holes quickly. Dorn's got nowhere to go.
3rd and 12 for the Tar Heels. See what Deems May decides to do here. He's just a freshman. And he'll throw for it. Good rush from him. He's going to tuck it under and try to pick it up on his own. He's a big kid, but he's pulled down short of the first down. Inside the 40, and you would assume the Tar Heels would go for it on 4th down.
Deems May facing the same types of problems that Jonathan Hall was facing. He gets back in the pocket, and the pocket collapses. People are getting all around him. He moves up in the pocket well, puts his head down and tries to get good yards moving back up the field. Torrin Dorn turned around and made a great block downfield, too. You like to see that out of your running backs.
4th down play coming up. Martin in trouble. Down he goes. Big defensive play by Grady Harris, number 69. He got to him first. Well, that North Carolina State defensive unit not quitting either. Good example of how well coached these teams are in terms of mental discipline, that even though the score's out of hand, they're still playing like it's not. Timeout on the field, 11 and a half minutes remaining. More ACC football coming your way after this. Back to the action. North Carolina State's Charles Davenport taking over at quarterback, number 7. He's a sophomore out of Fayetteville. This guy's an exciting player, great speed. And he threw the ball well last week against Tennessee State. He's in there to kill the clock, though. Tyrone Jackson nearly gets killed himself. Trying the right side and doesn't get anything. In fact, loses a yard. You know, it's interesting when you talk to the NC State coaches about their quarterback situation. Pogue does everything well enough that he's a very positive factor for your offense. Shane Montgomery runs a 2-minute drill to perfection, as you've seen him do the whole first half of the game. But they think Davenport may very well be the best one that they have, and if they can get him some playing time and get him some experience, they really look for big things out of him. Quick screen to Quarters, one-on-one in the secondary. Dropped in his tracks by Clarence Carter, a junior out of Toledo. You know, Kevin, one of the things that fails to get mentioned enough out of college football, talking about student athletes. These guys are all out here trying their hardest and doing everything they can. But you got to realize they're 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-old kids that also have to take a full load of classes. A lot of credit has to be given to these kids. Chris Williams steps through a tackle into the secondary where Bullock is waiting for him, and he brings him down as he gets inside the 45. Chris Williams, one of the talented members of the stable of running backs. Again, this is just a hesitation sweep. Williams trying to get his shoulders turned upfield, make people miss him, make people miss tackles, and get forward and try to pick up as many yards as he can. Approaching the 10-minute mark remaining in this one. Davenport still with the ball, short of the first down at about the 40. I'm sure one of the things that Coach Sheridan has told Charles Davenport, do everything you can, execute your plays the best you can, but make sure you try to keep the clock running. And these aren't even fun for the coach who's winning. He just wants to get out of here with, as you said earlier, with nobody hurt and not bruise any feelings on the other side. The toss is back to Williams. He cuts it up inside, and I think he's short of the first down. It's going to be very close. Good gang tackling by the Tar Heel defense that time. Again, Kevin, going back to the subject of academics, because in essence, these guys are really students first and ball players second. North Carolina last year on the Atlantic Coast Conference honor roll had 137 of their student athletes with a 3.0 grade point average or better. North Carolina State, on the other hand, had 94. These are tremendous things, and these are things that need to be said about teams and about the student athletes, because they just tend to go unnoticed. People get caught up in the one-loss records and the national rankings and the bowl games and statistics. You got to remember, these kids are all people too. So many negative things written by newspapers when one thing goes bad. Positive things many times go unreported. Fourth down, and they'll try to go for it because they don't want to kick a field goal, that's for sure, with this score out of hand. 41-3, Davenport keeps it himself. First down, and that'll continue to help North Carolina State kill the clock, which now has 8:55 remaining. So Davenport has mounted himself a drive here with his first playing time of the day. You can see one of the young Carolina fans not real happy with the outcome so far. Tell you what, they grow them young out here. North Carolina and North Carolina State both have a tremendous in-state following. First down for the Wolfpack. Davenport in front. Whoa, nearly intercepted. He threw it right into the hands of Don Millen, number 30. Now, although Davenport's a tremendous athlete, this is one of his liabilities. He's not 100% sure of what he's trying to do on the plays. You can see with no pressure around him, he's still trying to scramble, throws the football off balance, throws behind the receiver, and almost has it picked off. So it'll be be 2nd and 10. Oh, loose football, and North Carolina has it. So the Tar Heels will take it back at their own 45. Willie Joe Walker recovered it. They were in the backfield almost as quickly as the handoff took place.
Don Millen, on a tremendous individual effort here, gets to the tailback the same time that the quarterback does in the handoff. Strips the ball from him. You can see he's got the big club on his hand. That's a great effort.
Just a sophomore out of Atlanta. We'll return to Kenan Stadium for more ACC football. 8:23 remaining in this one.
This is Bob Holliday on the sidelines here at Kenan Stadium. Charles Davenport out of the game now, but we'll see him again in a moment, I'm sure. I used to watch Charles Davenport when he played at Fayetteville Pine Forest High School. He has a brother, Bojack Davenport, who's now a receiver at East Carolina. And yes, there are more Davenports still playing at Pine Forest. His brother, Kevin, is a left-handed quarterback. He's got another brother, Brian, who is a receiver for Pine Forest. So there are more Davenports, and I suspect the coaches will be making more trips to Fayetteville in years to come. Meanwhile, back on the field, North Carolina State's defense trying to go 12 quarters in a row without giving up a touchdown. Kevin, it's yours.
Thanks, Bob. Deems made a throw on first down, and sacked he is back at the 40. Grady Harris was in there, number 69, the senior out of Cincinnati. Getting a lot of playing time today, Grady is, and making the most of it. Well, you can bet the pipeline for North Carolina State to the Davenport home will be one that will be worn out in the next few years.
Wouldn't surprise me. One of the things that happens when you get pressure from the defensive line all day, even when there's no pressure there, you start to feel it, and it makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do. That time, May scrambled up in the pocket when he should have tried to step it back and make a play.
May now trying to get away from the pressure and really crosses the 45. Hey, the hitting is still ferocious down there. Barry Anderson, number 20, coming out of the secondary to lay the pads on Deems May.
And I could tell you heard that pop all the way up here. May coming back. This time there was pressure. Somebody missed a block. May makes a good play to scramble up in, but watch the hit here at the end.
Hi-yow! Mike Jones put the pressure on May, but he gained 7 yards scrambling out of there. 3rd down. 3rd and 7. May with time has it picked off. Dexter Royal going the other way with it. Fights off Marriott, still on his feet, and down he goes inside the 20. So Dexter Royal trying to make a name for himself, playing in a backup role, and a flag down. And we'll wait and see what happened over there. 37 yards on the return. So the sophomore from Greensboro does a good job.
I think you're going to see a face mask tacked on to the end of this. Marriott makes a great effort to actually pull Royal down, but he was the one that missed the first tackle, but had the presence of mind to stay after him long enough to keep him from getting into the end zone.
Personal foul against Carolina.
May, again, tunnel vision, staring right at the receiver he's trying to throw to, threw it right into the hands of Royal. Royal, you can see there, pushes Marriott away, keeps chugging for the end zone, and then Marriott reaches up and grabs him. I think what they call was the fact that he grabbed him by the head.
6:59 remaining. North Carolina State in command. We'll return to Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. More ACC football coming up. Live, the Carolina cheerleaders with very little to cheer about today. The team trailing 41-3. North Carolina State's Dexter Royal picking a pass off, and then a penalty tacked on, and they have 1st and goal at the 8. So they're threatening to score more. Davenport, the quarterback. He's their 3rd string quarterback. The toss back to Williams. Inside the 5. Collier brought him down. Hey, let's check in on Georgia Tech. 31-0 in the 3rd quarter. 5 Gamecock turnovers. Well, they were the 8th-ranked team in the country and unbeaten. Maryland leading the way, 17-6 at the half. So the Terps trying to go 4-2.
Bobby Ross has got a great program down at Georgia Tech. They've just come up short offensively in the games they played this year. It looks like they've got their offense rolling.
Davenport's going to keep it, and he hurdles for the touchdown. Charles Davenport, the young quarterback.
This play made famous by Gary Anderson when he leaped over two Miami Dolphin defenders. Davenport gets close to the goal line, and rather than put his head down and take the shot, he shows what a tremendous athlete he is by going airborne, a la Gary Anderson or Walter Payton. That was a great, great leap.
Happy moment for Davenport, and one that he'll cherish. Hartman on for the point after. He's perfect, the 48th point of the day for North Carolina State. 6:21 still remaining, and they lead it 48-3.
I can tell you, Davenport had one option on his play. That was to get into the end zone. There was no pass, no run fake. He just came out, got close enough that he knew if he leapt in the air, he was going to make it into the end zone. Great play by Davenport.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages from your local ACC stations. Big day for the Wolfpack, a sorry day for the Tar Heels. North Carolina State in front in the 78th renewal of the rivalry, and a happy day for the Wolfpack. The sellout crowd that greeted both teams here this afternoon, but many of those have headed home on this beautiful day in Chapel Hill.
Well, I got to tell you, Kevin, anybody that knows the history of this rivalry could foresee this day coming. In the last, listen to this statistic, compiled by Mark Bachman in the North Carolina State SID office. In this century, games played at home in a year with the last number 8 have been lost by the home team.
So you could have told us this before the game.
58, 68, and 78, the home team has lost. And that's been Chapel Hill at home all 3 times.
And they will lose today. 6:15 remaining. North Carolina State having things all their way today. But a great effort from the Wolfpack. They did it with offense in the first half and defense throughout the game. They come up with 3 interceptions. 2 of them are Fred Stone, the linebacker.
And I tell you what really, really helped them, who's not getting a lot of credit, is Coach Sheridan. He's the one that came up with the idea to go with the 2-minute offense, and it's worked brilliantly.
16 turnovers in the 6 games for the North Carolina State defense. And North Carolina calls a timeout. That's interesting.
I think May was a little bit confused about what he wanted to do. You know, talking about Coach Sheridan, the Atlantic Coast Conference has got the best set of young coaches that they've had in quite some time. You've got Steve Spurrier at Duke, you've got Sheridan here, and even though Mack Brown is 0-6, he's one of the bright young talents. You got Bobby Ross down at Georgia Tech, Dooley and Oldhand at Wake Forest. This is top to bottom possibly one of the best sets of coaches that the Atlantic Coast Conference has had. Everybody in the conference has made a tremendous commitment to making their football program the equivalent of their basketball program. The ACC for a long time has been known solely as a great hoops team. Now they've come back, and all of the programs in the conference have said, hey, let's make a commitment monetarily and physically to our football programs and see if we can't make them the caliber of our basketball programs.
North Carolina State running up some numbers today. Dick Sheridan hugging his assistants on the sideline. He told me yesterday, even though he doesn't prepare any differently for this game, the North Carolina game is something special. The players feel it. About Tuesday, he said, every year. Doran trying the left side. Doesn't get very far. Gets stood up at the 30. North Carolina sticking on the ground, as well as North Carolina State.
You know, mentioning what Sheridan had to say about the special feelings he has for the rivalry. I went to school at Duke University. We have the rivalry against North Carolina. But I got to tell you, even being a Blue Devil, when these two teams came out for the pregame warm-ups and the opening kickoff, I had goosebumps. I was excited.
The whole stadium was rocking when the teams came out this afternoon, and since then it's been North Carolina State that's been rocking North Carolina. And the bragging rights will certainly be loud and long tonight around Raleigh and Durham and Chapel Hill. And they'll all belong to North Carolina State. Of course, a lot of them may belong to Durham, too. If Duke can knock off Clemson later this afternoon. That's a pivotal game in the ACC race. Surprising Blue Devils, 5-0 coming into today, going up against 4-1 Clemson down there in Clemson. So Death Valley's a tough place to win, but if anybody has a shot at it this year in the ACC, the favorite would be Duke.
And it's been done down there before.
Stays in trouble. He stays in bounds and backs up to about the 39-yard line. 4:50 left.
Again, another one of the positives. Deems May gets out of the pocket. He's really got nobody open downfield. NC State is doing a tremendous job covering his receivers and getting onto him. You'll see at the end of the play, Torrin Dorn turning around and making blocks. A team of players that would have given up, you don't see that kind of thing downfield.
4th and 1, and North Carolina is elected to punt it away. Nobody back for North Carolina State, so that one will be allowed to roll. Oh, they may kill it inside the 5, and they will. It takes a backward bounce. They kill it at about the 6. Well, they kicked North Carolina State backed up against their own goal line, 56-yard punt. And the Wolfpack will come out and try to kill the last 4 minutes and 3 seconds of this game and notch their 5th victory of the season.
Well, if you want to look at some of the positives for North Carolina, McAllister has kicked the ball extremely well today.
We check the scores from around the country. Pitt laying it on Temple. Florida State having a struggle with East Carolina. East State struggled last week.
East Carolina's played a lot of teams tough this year.
The toss to Jackson, nearly caught in his own end zone as North Carolina State employs its 4th quarterback of the day, Joe Hollowell. He's the guy who has the Thursday night dinners over at his house.
That's it. He can do more than be just a chef.
He can talk about his playing time now. That'll be the topic next Thursday at the dinner, I'm sure. He'll be talking all night about how he tossed that ball back to Jackson.
You know, I got to tell you, it sounds kind of funny to say, but these kids are all competitors. They've all been in good high school programs, and they really love to play the game. They will go back, and they'll talk about this, and they'll talk about it with a lot of excitement in their voice.
At that time, he took too much time, and his teammates will remind him of that. I imagine when you're the 4th team quarterback and you don't have much playing time, you tend to forget about that clock.
Well, you don't figure you're going to get in very often being the 4th team quarterback, and so you may not be as mentally prepared to do all the things that you really have to do. Especially not when you have 3 quarterbacks in front of you, the caliber of the ones that NC State does.
They run it with Hayden right up the middle. Fumble, loose football. And let's see if North Carolina comes up with it. That scoring streak would be in jeopardy for North Carolina State. No, the Wolfpack were able to get it back. That would have been a tough way for their defense to give up a touchdown, wouldn't it?
When it rains, it pours. North Carolina just can't seem to have anything fall the right way for them. You know, and that would be the one sad thing to come out of this game. If something like that happened, you got your 4-teamers in there. They give up a touchdown late in the game. It doesn't make any difference for the score, but it breaks a great streak that defensive players from NC State have worked awfully hard to keep.
12 quarters in a row, they have not allowed a touchdown. And 21 out of 24 for the season. And they'll punt it away with 2:12 remaining and the clock ticking away. Well, Mac Brown's team has to go back and regroup, try to somehow build some confidence in this young team, because as the losses add up, the confidence level goes down. Oh, nailed it. Oh, line drive, but he really drilled it. Blunt has to go back to his 35. Santi has to chase him, and he gets a hand on him to slow him down. Blunt did a lot of running back and forth. and got it all the way down inside the 40 of North Carolina State. A 58-yard punt and a 25-yard return. So a pretty good return by Blount.
I tell you what, Preston Pogue knocked the tar out of that ball. No pun intended.
Boy, it's tough, Ben, when you get beat like this and you have to go back to practice and you have to start thinking ahead. It's tough to forget a game like this.
I tell you, one of the things that they really don't want to do is go back and watch the films of this game. Because it's not so much that NC State has dominated them, which they have. They've just made a lot of silly little mistakes that have cost them in a big way. That being one of them right there. Drop passes, bad reads by the quarterback, bad throws by the quarterback, poor blocking on occasion. It's just, it's nothing major. It's just a lot of things that add up. And that's all you can ask for out of your teams. You can just ask them not to make the mistakes. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Second down and 10 for Deems May. On the positive side, a lot of people for North Carolina getting some playing time today. And when you have a young team, that's what you want. Rankin makes a sliding catch at the 26-yard line. Deems May is just a freshman. All of this type of experience, a flag down in the North Carolina backfield. It looks like that'll work against them and wipe out the completion.
May again throwing the ball an awfully long way on the out pattern. He makes a great throw to throw it over Royal, but that's a dangerous throw for a little bit of yards.
So they'll bring it back the other way and send the Tar Heels back to the 47 of North Carolina State. May open the season at quarterback for North Carolina, but then Jonathan Hall seemed to be coming on after he was able to recoup that shoulder injury and rehab it well.
You know, I had a chance to see the game Deems May played against Oklahoma. He really had a bad game, but not all of it was his fault. He really got shelled by a stellar Oklahoma defense.
He's in trouble here, trying to get away, but Mike Jones gets his second sack of the day. Jones has 4 on the year. Under a minute left now, as the 78th meeting between these two teams will be one that North Carolina fans will want to forget as soon as the gun sounds. Go down for our last check-in with Bob Holliday. Bob?
You saw Eric Blount return that punt moments ago. He's the future that Mack Brown is pointing to. He was the guy that North Carolina State wanted, and North Carolina was fortunate to win the recruiting battle for him. Mack Brown has laid the groundwork for next year's recruiting class. He and his staff visited every high school in the state of North Carolina in all 100 counties. And they expect to have to go out and hit the road aggressively again next year. Now, the problem in recruiting North Carolina players, there are many good ones out there, but not only does NC State have a class program and Duke is getting more North Carolina players, Wake Forest, but Clemson and South Carolina have made a living out of recruiting North Carolina players. So it's very crowded, but Mack Brown hopes to do better recruiting in-state players. And if he can, then North Carolina can get back up there. But right now, they're behind NC State in a big way. Guys, I've enjoyed working with you today. I understand that Joe Hollowell has moved those cookouts to Wednesday. Let's see if we can get invited to the next one. What do you say?
All right, Bob, thanks. Jones has another sack. His 3rd of the day, 5th of the season. He leads the team now in sacks. So the big man is having a good time today.
This is just something that you really hate to see late in the game if you're any kind of Carolina fan, because May really wants to do well, but he hasn't had an opportunity to show what he can do. He's been under pressure all day long, and he's just fortunate he hasn't gotten hurt out here today.
McAllister sends it deep again. Nobody back for North Carolina State. And they'll kill this one at the 1-yard line with 7 seconds remaining. So time for one more snap after that 53-yard punt. And there'll be time to run out the clock and fall down and end this one. 48-3, North Carolina State owning everything about it. They played well from start to finish as the Wolfpack go to 5-1. And North Carolina drops to 0-6.
Makes the conference race interesting. All you people that are fired up about following the ACC, there's a big one coming up shortly after this. Clemson and Duke should be a great game. People at Chevy's, I know, are getting fired up.
That'll do it. 48-3, North Carolina State wins this one. North Carolina had won 8 of the last 9 in this rivalry, and they carried Dick Sheridan off. He's won 2 of 3 as a head coach at North Carolina State. Mack Brown, on the other hand, his first in this rivalry of what most expect will be many more to come, and all of those much more successful than today. So a tough loss for Carolina, big win for North Carolina State. And Bob Holliday working so hard for us down on the sidelines. We appreciate his work for us today. For Ben Bennett, I'm Kevin Slayton saying so long from Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. 48-3, the Wolfpack take home the win.